Now I'm live. Okay. Hello. Hello, YouTube. If you were wondering why I'm 20 minutes late, it is because I definitely thought that the preview meant that I was live. That's my bad. This is my first time streaming to YouTube, so, you know, it's, I was anticipating that things would be weird. So, it's okay. You didn't miss anything. To the people watching the VOD, you didn't miss anything. I'm just eating. YouTube Miss Agatha, well, she'll be back. She'll be back. It's Searcherline, I would just skip it. Do it again tomorrow. Which stream is better anyway? It's true, Twitch has channel points. Yeah, there's some shit on YouTube that I do not know how to integrate just yet, but we will get there. Thank you, honey. Thank you for watching over on YouTube. So yes, if you did not see my message in the Discord announcements, watching on YouTube is definitely helpful for me right now, but you can also do both at this, you know, at the same time, 2 tabs. So y'all want me to answer these questions? Should we do that? You want to do the AMA time? Hi, you back? You want to come back? You want to help me answer questions? Come here. Oh, okay, here we go. YouTube gets Agatha. YouTube streams have never worked for you. Yeah, OBS is really helpful. Or like an encoder, you know, of some kind. Forgot what I asked, so I put in another submission. That's okay. I'm not capping the submissions or anything. Okay, so question 1 is, when did you first start crocheting and did someone teach you? So I started crocheting, I got my first set of crochet hooks in Christmas of 2018. Jess gave them to me. You're not getting my food. So I had been interested in crocheting for a while. I started with knitting. That was my first experience with, I mean, sewing was like my first experience with fiber arts, but I did knitting before I did crochet. So I had always had the feeling that like crochet would work a little bit better for me, and I was pretty right about that. And so this is the first, I don't know if it was exactly this pattern, but I mean, it's the same thing, right? This is the first project that I ever made for crochet. I'll link that here. Can link that in the YouTube chat as well. Twitch chat is cool, but it doesn't have this sick octopus. Wow. Yeah, just figuring it out over there on YouTube. So just a very simple rectangle, and then you make it into a beanie, basically. So I did not, someone else did not teach me. I did have a friend who crocheted and would share like some advice and some patterns with me, but I'm definitely self-taught. I have, let me see here. I have my first crochet book. So this is the crochet book that I used to learn, and I actually do recommend this one. I think it's a pretty good overview. It has like some really helpful like basic information that I think even more advanced crocheters like would enjoy having on hand. It's got this whole like, you know, all the abbreviations and everything in it. So, and like a breakdown of like the, you know, the differences in the UK versus the US terms, and like just a bunch of really cool stuff. It's got a granny square pattern in here that I've used to death. That's like a basic granny square pattern. So, girl, you're not getting on the desk. Really enjoyed learning from that one, but... And then I, you know, eventually started watching some... for videos, I really like videos for like specific examples of things. But I like the pace at which I'm able to learn from reading. So, it's a toss-up for which terms patterns from here use. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, having the translation, and For something that's not a physical book, I can actually recommend the Craft Yarn Council has they have, where is it? I believe they have one, like one of the abbreviation charts. Let me see here. Here we go. The Crochet Abbreviations Master List. So Craft Yarn Council is a pretty good resource if anybody is looking for something like that. They have a bunch of information on their website. So that's handy as well. But yeah, so I basically just say I've been crocheting since 2019 because the math works out a little bit better. So yeah, what is that, like 7 or 8 years? Question 2. What specific colors or brands of embroidery floss have you used for the Stardew Valley tapestry crochet? So I think at this point it's pretty well known. I used all DMC, and I do recommend not necessarily using multiple brands unless that's something that you're planning for. Is I'll get your goal plugged in here. So one thing that I learned on the first project that I did with embroidery floss was that like different brands of embroidery floss have a different like texture and finish to them. So the first project that I made with embroidery floss was actually Alex's portrait from Stardew Valley. It was a commission for a friend, and I think it was Big Twist, like the Big Twist brand of embroidery floss, and then some like floss that like didn't even have a brand name. It was like one of the kits from like, or the packs from Joanne, I guess, that has just like a whole bunch of different colors in there. It's like some older stuff that I just had lying around that I have no idea where it came from anymore. So but the DMC has kind of like a sheen to it versus the other floss that I use is very like matte and almost, it looks a bit more like Lily Sugar and Cream, that sort of that coarseness almost to the fiber. So it didn't look super consistent, so by the time I got to the map I knew that I needed to like use all the same brand in order to ensure that consistency. The same brand and the same type as well, because DMC does make different types of floss, so that's important to keep in mind. Question 3. How do you make sense of all the weird abbreviations and crochet patterns? It all seems so dense to me. I've learned some basic crochet stuff, but actual patterns intimidate me. So, as I have up there, having the abbreviations chart helps a lot. You should tattoo Alex's face onto your face. Not Stardew Valley Alex, the other better Alex. But then, I would take away from Alex's uniqueness. So yes, having the abbreviation charts helps a lot, but I feel like the thing that really helped me with getting things to stick in my own brain, because like, you know, we all have like our own learning styles and like things that are gonna work better for us when it comes to information sticking for us. So I think what really helped it start to click for me, because like I had a really hard time with written patterns at first too. I like agonized over them. With knitting, that was something that had me like locked out of ever advancing with knitting. That's why I didn't end up doing more with knitting, because I found knitting patterns impossible to read. So crochet patterns I did have more success with, but writing things down I think was really what got my brain working, because I would like rewrite patterns into my own words, and through doing that I just naturally started to do my own abbreviations, because it's like, well, I know what I mean by this, so I can just like do shorthand, right? And so through doing shorthand I just kind of naturally started to go like, oh wait, the abbreviations do make sense, like I'm doing this naturally, so why not just start using the correct ones, right? The correct abbreviations. So I feel like I almost had to follow that path of like why people historically started using abbreviations in the first place.
Nickel Studio just subscribed for 7 months.
Thank you, Brian. And thank you so much, Nickel, for subscribing. Appreciate you. Welcome in. But yeah, that's kind of my recommendation, is like rewrite things into your own words, into the way that makes sense for you. And I think through the process of writing things down, you will just naturally sort of start to understand crochet as text more, and then you can kind of understand how other people are doing it a little bit better. Kind of a putting it into your own words sort of situation. You're not actually here, you're working. Yeah. Well, welcome in anyway. We're glad to have you at work. We're glad to have work, Nickel. Alright, question 4. What other art forms or creative pursuits have you tried / enjoyed? So this was, when we got to this question, this is when I really started to get glad that I like took notes beforehand. Like I prepped for. I remembered to do this because this is a long list. So I do have a Bachelor of Fine Arts. I did go to school for art. So I've done a lot of different things. I've at least like dipped my toes into the water of like many different disciplines. Because that's just what you do when you go to art school, right? You get the chance to learn a lot of different things and take a lot of different kinds of classes. So from the time that I was a kid, I was drawing. Like drawing has always kind of been, well, before college, drawing was like the thing that I did all the time. I've been doing that, you know, since I was a child. Like y'all remember the little green children's easels that had like the pad of paper on the one side and the chalkboard on the other? I wore that thing out. So drawing, I started sewing at a very young age. You pre-read our questions. I can't think of things off the cuff. I would just be sitting here like the whole time just trying to think. Water time. Thank you, Phoenix. I have coffee, but if somebody wanted to get me water, you know, I'd appreciate it. Yeah, you get to see me drink. I can run and get water really quick if you want. I forgot to do that before I went live. Adding more to the cursed fic, depending on when the reading is, I might have a full book. Oh my god. It was a great idea to do my question just now. Yeah, you'll get the natural reaction, that's for sure. You may not get the best answer, though. Oh, thank you so much for Instarian. I'm glad you're coming. So yes, I started sewing when I was pretty little as well. I liked to make clothes and like furniture and stuff for my dolls, and then I also started sewing for myself, but I never got too far on that because that's very hard and I did not have like the foundational knowledge. Oh yeah, that's for when y'all go streaking. Phoenix found the there's two new emotes actually. See if you can find the other one. But Phoenix has the one for when y'all go streaking. Thank you, honey. There you go. Alex found the other one. Everyone's just telling me to go to jail now. Thank you. We really derailed, huh? We're just playing with the emo now. Oh yes, drawing, sewing. I did painting. I would say watercolor was the one that wound up sticking for me the most, which is really ironic because I have a whole entire like very dramatic story about like basically getting in a fight with my watercolor teacher. I've done sculpture. I really enjoyed welding. I got to do some welding when I was in school. That was probably my favorite one. My degree is in printmaking, so I've done all the different disciplines of printmaking. I'm excited to potentially get back into that a little bit now that we're in a house and I have a little bit more room. Like I have the whole room for my office, so I can be a little bit messier, a little bit more chaotic in here. I've done some cross stitch. I've done photography. Like I feel like everybody's done photography at this point because we all have phones, but like I've actually like developed photos the old-fashioned way. Um, I write a lot. Writing is something that I still do. And I'm actually really excited. I have some more writing projects in the works that I'm hoping to present to y'all. Fingers crossed that I have the time for it. And then I also have, I wouldn't say that I still do because it's one of those things where it's like you use it or you lose it. But I have played 3 different instruments, so we'll talk about that for our next question, which is, do you play any instruments? um, this is less chaotic than the last time you took a break. No, it's so true. So when I was in elementary school, I played the violin. When I was in middle school, I played French horn. And then sort of throughout my whole life, I've played the piano. So I actually have a little keyboard that Jess got me for, like, I think for my birthday one year, but I just haven't really gotten to play on it in a really long time because it's been a minute since I lived somewhere where I actually had room to, like, set it up and have it out. So it's kind of been living in the closet for a while, but I'm hopeful that someday I'll have, you know, a bigger office where I can actually have it out in my space and play with it again. Because I do enjoy playing the piano. I think it's really fun. I already added in a special treat for Jack that a couple of you know. Wow. Okay, question 6. What are some of your favorite foods? So this is rapidly turning into one of my favorite foods. This is from the local coffee shop, and I've been getting this like every day. This is the potato knish plate. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. It's Knish. But it's kind of like a bready dumplingy thing. It's like a pierogi, but if it was bread instead of pasta. And then it's full of like potato. This one is like onion and cheddar flavor. And then it comes with this slaw and this like chipotle mustard stuff. This shit is so good. So I love potatoes. Like mashed potatoes especially. Mashed potatoes in anything. Mac and cheese is a big one. I really like comfort food. I like carbs. I like soup, brothy and creamy soups. And then also like pastries, like bread-based pastries. I have a pretty big sweet tooth. I really like candy, so candy more than chocolate. I like fruity stuff. So I have a lot of foods that I like. Do you like flowers? Question number 7. Do you like flowers? And if so, do you have any favorites? Yes. So I'm not like huge on flowers, but I do go hard for my favorite flowers, which are daffodils. And then I also really enjoy wild violets. And then my new favorite are alliums. Off topic, but your camera is so crisp. Would you believe that it's just my phone camera? Don't underestimate your phone cameras, guys. They're pretty good these days. But yeah, daffodils and violets, they're like, that's just like my childhood. It's like my dad's house growing up. Oh, it would be awesome. So, hold on, I'm gonna respond to this person on YouTube because they don't have sound, it looks like. Okay. Sorry, I'm just answering a question for somebody who does not have sound. But let's see here. So growing up, daffodils would always grow next to the swing set at my dad's house. And then there were all kinds of wild violets in the fields there. So that's like peak childhood memories for me, is those 2 flowers. And then alliums, if you have not seen them, let me like pull up a picture here, because they're such a unique flower. And I saw a couple of them when we lived in Massachusetts, but now that we live in New York, I swear everybody has them in their yard. And I feel like this is not really capturing their full glory. But let me see here. One second. I'll get this up on screen for you all. One second. So these are alliums, and they're like very tall. They're like Dr. Seuss flowers. So a lot of times I'll just see like one of them, just one, and they look so whimsical like that. So that's a new favorite, but they're all over the place here. Yeah, onion flowers. They are in the onion family. Oh, let me get the water from you. Thank you, honey. Yes, just drop off water for me. So. When I stream, it's part of my on-screen stuff, but that's on your OBS. Yeah, so there's like a specific thing that I downloaded for my OBS for Twitch that it enables the captions. I'm assuming there's probably one for YouTube, but it's just like so many different things. I just haven't gotten to it yet, but I will definitely look into that for YouTube. I was kind of surprised that YouTube didn't have that built in. Okay, there we go. Now I've had actual water. Have you ever had fried allium blossoms? I have not. Very textured. I would love to try that. Jam asked, can we see your tattoos? We will get to that. There's a question that is related to that. You had bangers and mash with onion gravy for dinner. Since being pregnant and having cravings, you actually really like it now. No, that sounds really good. Like, I'm vegetarian. I don't eat meat. But that sounds like the vegetarian version of that would be really good too. Scarlet finished dishes. Okay, let me get that checked off for you. Did I even add that? Did I even ever add it? Oh, I see where I missed it. Well, I'm gonna add it so I can check it off for you. Look, we did it! We did it! Yay! Okay. Crisis averted. Okay. So those are my favorite flowers. Alright. Question 8. What other games do you like? So, Skyrim and Oblivion are big ones for me. I feel like we talk about those all the time. Really love Katamari, especially for the aesthetics of Katamari, possibly even more than the gameplay, but the gameplay is also very fun. Just celebrating your 6-year mod anniversary. Yeah, that's how long the stream has been around, technically speaking. Animal Crossing, obviously. Probably, I would probably specifically say New Horizons Animal Crossing, because I didn't really play, you know, back when Animal Crossing was young. I love the Portal games, both of them. I actually have played through, you know, the first time around, like, you know, 5 or 6 years ago when I was streaming, I played through both of them on stream. I play Valheim. I used to play DBD a lot. It's something that I still consume a lot of content around, but don't really play anymore. I like Hades, but I'm not very good at it. So the sweet spot for me, I really like puzzle games and sandbox games that enable you to be creative. That's my favorite thing. And Skyrim is so great because it's got the combat and the story element in addition to all of that other stuff. It's still very puzzle and sandbox, so that's why Skyrim is so great for me. Question number 9, what's the weirdest thing you've ever made? This is going back to the fact that I went to school for art and had access to a bunch of sculpture materials. I would say the cast iron vagina belt buckle probably takes the cake. So I'll have to dig up a picture of that. Yeah, I know. Y'all weren't ready for that. That's like, there's like a whole like analysis of what my brain was doing when I was in school that I feel like I need to like write down for my fucking memoir or something. Because did it have a, it was not, yeah, it was anatomically correct, yes. There were also earrings, yes. It was not just the belt buckle, it was earrings, there was a necklace, like I made different sizes. So was this the chastity belt? No, it was like, think like cowboy. You could have like knocked somebody out with that thing too. It was heavy. There was also like a t-shirt that went with it. I made like standees. It's like a whole thing that I was doing. I feel like that is less out there at this point. I feel like there are so many people that I've seen who are doing like a vagina themed thing for their college stuff. I don't know. At this point, I feel like it's pretty obvious. I don't think it's that special, but I did it. I participated in that. Question number 10. Yeah, moving on from that. I will probably write more about that so y'all can have more information about like what the fuck was going on with it. Look out for that on my blog. I'll let you know. Question 10. Have you had any pets other than cats? Mostly just dogs. You know, there have been some family pets like rodents and stuff that belong to my siblings, like mice and hamsters and stuff like that. But in terms of pets that I've had, like as an adult, I have only really had cats. I did try to have a dog at one point. It did not really work out, so we did end up rehoming her with another family that she was very happy with. But pretty much just cats as an adult. What's your weirdest hear me out? I'm actually not going to answer this question right now because I decided that I am going to put together 5 of my hear me outs for when we do the tier list. So y'all will get an in-depth answer for that with pictures when the time comes. So look forward to that. Would you share some Stardew Valley headcanons, especially ones that might not be more aligned with fanon headcanons? So this is the part where I'm going to kind of disappoint you a little bit. I need to know when I must defend my hear me out. Yes, I will get that on the schedule for you. I'll make sure y'all at least have 2 weeks notice. Don't worry. I am not really a headcanon person. And maybe this is going to sound kind of snobby. Like, my opinions about games I like to base on, like, the text. So, it's like, I don't really call things headcanons because I'm like, this is just very clearly what the game is telling me the story is. So, I can tell you kind of, like, my philosophy of what Stardew Valley is, because I do think that there are people who kind of, like, don't see the game that way, which is really weird to me because I'm like, I don't even think this is subtext. This is just, like, text. Like, this is what the game is. But I think that some people would consider it a headcanon because nobody is explicitly in the game saying, this is what the game is about, which is like what some people need, but I don't know. I feel like I'm going to sound really snobby saying this, but like, I am very analytical when it comes to the media I consume. I just enjoy doing it. I appreciate that not everybody does, but so I feel like a lot of the times I will sort of pick up on the, like, what the sort of like the thesis of a story is, and then there will be other people who like just don't even see that. So I don't know. Get your autism to work on that. I know, right? So my feelings about Stardew Valley are basically that the message of the game is inherently anti-capitalist. And I think that maybe is confusing for a lot of people because money is obviously a core mechanic of the game, but there is a difference between having an economy and being a capitalist society. And that is very much exemplified by the tension between the town and JojaMart. So JojaMart is exemplifying what capitalism is about, which is essentially like using commodification in order to extract resources that are then hoarded away from a community, versus what you as the farmer are representing, which is using the resources that are at the disposal of yourself and the town in order to give back to the town. So the economy of Stardew Valley, I think a lot of people, because you can do these crazy things in the game where you like, you know, grind and essentially sort of like do things that like aren't realistic, like, you know, put kegs everywhere and all this stuff, and grind for millions and millions of gold pieces and all of this stuff. I think people kind of miss the fact that like so much of the game is about you doing things for the town, like for free or in a way that supports the local economy in a cyclical way. So like I've seen people talk about like getting rid of JojaMart is bad because all of a sudden you're destroying people's jobs, but it's like, no, the existence of JojaMart was already destroying people's jobs and extracting resources from the community that it never returned on. So like paying somebody minimum wage is not an equivalent return on everything that JojaMart was sucking out of the economy. So Sam gets a museum job though. I mean, that's the perfect example of like, if the town has more resources that are remaining in the town can create jobs that sustain the town. So JojaMart was directly conflicting with that. So I don't really think of that as a headcanon. I just think of that as like text. I think it may be confusing to some people because the siding with JojaMart is an option in the game, but like that's because it's a video game. Like, it's not real, guys. Shane is unemployed, but he works with chickens. So yeah, I mean, Shane can work with Marnie, and you know, hopefully there's more opportunity for like him to be an employee with Marnie, because Marnie will theoretically earn more money if people are buying things from her, right? Me and my ancient wine empire against Mayor Lewis, though. The idea of the bulletin board in Stardew Valley asking for trades with neighbors instead of going to the store. Yeah, exactly. It's like baked in, like the community center, like just as something that exists within the game in and of itself is like, that is very much what the game is about. Like restoring the community center is kind of the core of the game, I think, and then everything else is just sort of like for fun, you know? But I think the community center is what the story of the game is. So I don't know if that really counts, but that's my 2 cents. So question number 13 is an interesting one. The fact that community center also takes time to the point where speedruns aren't too enjoyable adds to the argument. Yeah, because the calm and relaxing feels more impactful and rewarding than just buying stuff through Joja. Absolutely, 100%. And like, I get emotional when I complete the community center. Like, I think it's really special. So, and like, obviously if you do JojaMart, you don't really have anything like that. I don't know, maybe you do. We'll find out, because the Drunk Joja run will be coming up eventually. Okay, question 13. If the Discord does suddenly get much bigger as a result of more notoriety online, which I like how notoriety is the word that we've gone with, do you have plans for how to wrangle that? And I feel like I have a couple of thoughts about this. Number one being that it's not a problem that I anticipate happening anytime soon. I know that every time we have like an influx of people joining, people kind of worry about this. But my thing is that like, just because people join a Discord, that does not mean that they are going to be active in a Discord, right? Like, I feel like I've managed enough Discords at this point to really know that concretely. So we may have like a surge in membership, but the majority of those people are going to like fizzle in their activity and not really be present in the way that some of y'all are, you know? That means more birthdays, that's right, we gotta keep Jam busy. So that's why I don't really anticipate it just like suddenly being a problem. And that also goes into sort of my philosophy as a content creator. Like, my growth, even though I have had moments where my growth has sort of like exploded a little bit, it has actually, it's proportional, right? So going from 75 followers to 3,000 followers overnight is a very abrupt jump, but that's still small fry numbers, right? That's tiny. So my growth has been, as a content creator, pretty natural in its progress, because I am not trying to like explode and go viral. I don't really want those followers, because then we're getting a bunch of people who are responding to one video and they're not necessarily actually interested in my content. So like it's fine for somebody to follow me because they saw one of my viral videos, which like I think there is one or two at this point. But I don't necessarily want to like explode and all of a sudden have all of these people who are coming in who aren't actually really understanding what the content I'm making is. Like I want to grow more slowly so that the people who are coming in are the people who actually want to be here, actually want to engage the community element of it, actually care about fiber arts, you know. So I think that continuing on with that focus is going to make it a lot harder for me to just explode, which is a good thing in my mind. Your Discord day is usually Saturdays, and I think a lot of people are like that. Yeah. People come and go from the server too. It'll always fluctuate, exactly, and that's totally fine. Like, not everybody wants to be in a Discord. For some people, it is literally just a way to get a stream alert, and that's totally fine. Like, I don't really want everybody who's in the Discord to be active in the Discord, because then it would be pretty busy, right? So, you know, I appreciate that the people who want to do that are doing that, and the people who don't want to do that don't do it. That's great. That's perfect. And yeah, so like I said, members does not equal activity. And then my third point is that my intention for the Discord is to be a community-driven and oriented space. So it's not like I'm going to be using the Discord as a way to like farm membership or like fuel people coming in there. You know, it's not like join the Discord to participate in a giveaway, you know, like it's not something that I am using. I'm not trying to monetize the Discord, right? I don't even really... I'm sure there's ways to do that. I don't know. It's not something I've thought about, so I can't really think of how you would do that. But, like, I'm sure some people do kind of, like, gamify being part of a Discord, right? And that can contribute to it being more bloated. But my thoughts for the Discord is that it's about information sharing, and it's about safe places for people to go to be in community with each other. And I think that that will also have an impact on the Discord's scale sort of regulating itself. And then, you know, also the fact that like the Discord is always going to center trans people. And I know that there are a lot of people who are just like generally part of the queer community in the Discord, and that's like great, y'all are welcome. Like the Discord is for everybody, you know. But I want to be so clear, at the center of the Discord is trans people, because when it comes to marginalized identities, it's one thing to say, sorry, I keep getting little like things flying in front of my face, that's why I keep doing that. When it comes to marginalized identities, it's really important to make that space very explicitly for the most marginalized. And, you know, especially trans people of color, like I want people to feel like they're going to be welcome in this space, respected in this space. But I also fully recognize that the face on the Discord is my white face. So like, I appreciate if that's something that, you know, is not going to be as appealing to people of color who want to be centered. Like how effectively can I as a white person be centering them, because I don't have that experience. I'm not in that community, right? So, but if somebody wants to come and help me build that, I would love that, right? So I want to keep the most marginalized people that are part of the community and intended to be part of the community at that center, even though, you know, we are encouraging all of this general queerness in the Discord. And that's why I've talked about it before. The Just Trans Things channel is specifically called out in the way that it is, just to kind of make it very explicit, like this is a space for trans people, because there's so much LGB without the T bullshittery nonsense that goes on these days. Like, even though I'm a non-binary person, I feel like it should be obvious. Not everybody realizes that at this point, which is so weird. I'm glad you feel that way, Scarlett. I'm really glad that you feel that. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't always know how comfortable people who are not white are gonna feel in my spaces, because I am white, and maybe I should be asking about that more, but I also don't want to be like patronizing. I don't know. So I appreciate you volunteering that information, because I do want like y'all to know that like I'm thinking about that, right? I do think about that stuff. So it's something that like if you see ways that you feel like that can be worked on and improved, like definitely let me know, please. Everyone in the Discord is so nice. I agree, and I think that kind of ties into my last point. I don't even know if I finished what I was just talking about, but we're just going with it. Is that I think we will respond. I will respond, but I also think from what I've seen of the community, we as a whole will respond to the needs of the Discord as they arise, you know? So I don't think that we necessarily need to try and like control the growth of the Discord or like solve problems in advance, because I think that we have all shown that we are excited to kind of like work together on solutions that work best for us. And I think that like so many of the people that are in there like really care about that space. And you know, as I've seen people kind of like step up and do a little more and show that they like want to take on a little bit more, I've kind of like been inviting, you know, mods in. Like, it's not a popularity thing. You know, I think that there are a lot of people who like the idea of being a mod perhaps, but wouldn't necessarily like vibe well with the actual work of what being a mod is, because it's really not that fun. But so when I see people that I feel like, hey, you're already kind of like trying to do the work without me asking you to do it, I'm kind of calling people in, like, do you want to participate? Like Scarlett and Trill in particular, I saw both of them kind of like doing things on their own that I felt were very mod oriented, so I just like checked in with them if they were interested in like helping a little bit more. Yeah, Jess is the vanity mod, but Jess is my wife, so that means I can go, baby, help me, and then they will. So, Nepo mod. It's just the one person that I get to make do stuff for me if I need them to, right? It's some hard work, but it's worth it. I'm glad that you feel that way. Yeah, being a mod can really suck, so I'm not gonna lie to you. So that's my thoughts about that. Definitely, if you have any follow-up questions, about any of the things that I'm talking about, you can let me know. I just want to save any brand new questions for the end, but like, hopefully I completed at least some of those thoughts. Question 14 is an easy one. Have you seen Blake Jennings' Stardew Valley Who Can Say the F Slur videos? Yes, I have. What are your favorite Stardew Valley mods? So if you have not seen the list, these are all of the mods that I use for Stardew Valley. I have the complete list there. Can you see who submitted the questions? It depends on if you put your name on the form or not, but I'm not looking at the submissions right now. I have everything pulled aside into a separate text document, so like I'm not referencing who submitted what right now. But in theory, it would have been up to you whether or not the questions are anonymous. But okay. Of that list, my two favorite mods are without a doubt the NPC map locations mod and the skip the fishing minigame mod. I will like always play with those. What are we doing? What are we doing right now? Hang on. 1 second, y'all. Did you just crash? I don't know why it did that. It just minimized itself for some reason. Weird. Hopefully it's not overheating. we're back. Yeah, it just like minimized itself for some reason. I don't know. The program I use is just like weird like that sometimes. So okay. Yeah, NPC map locations is incredible. I like will never play without it again. I feel like you might be able to guess which one is mine. I don't know. Some of y'all are pretty unhinged. Wait, are you also writing a fanfic, Birds? I missed that. I know Zephyr's writing one, obviously, but are you also writing one? But yeah, map locations is great, because it's like, I would always reference the wiki anyway, so having that reference just like in the game itself is huge. But I will say, once I reach perfection in my main save, I do intend to download more creative mods. Like, I haven't really tried anything that crazy up to this point because I didn't want to disrupt the core gameplay too much before I've actually like finished the game. So there will be room for me to like explore what's out there. I'm excited. I have some stuff like bookmarked already. I'm really excited to try out. So, and then obviously once I do the Drunk Joja run, there are a couple mods that I'm intending to do. We'll find it. You've been writing it since 2023. Writing. I'm very excited to find out more about it. Maybe we can add it to a future subathon redemption or something. I can read it for everyone. Maybe that will motivate you, right? Or maybe it'll do the opposite. So I don't have to do that, but you know, just throwing it out there. Question number 16. Now, this is me making an example of someone. Hi, Zagatha. You want to come participate and help me answer questions? Yeah? Come on. There you go. Miss Agatha's back. Absolutely do not do a live reading of my fanfiction. She was yelling at me about Millie being in this room. Oh my goodness, they're so ridiculous. The music went quieter when you said making an example. Oh my god. Okay, so question number 16. Would you ever set up an OnlyFans? So I just want to let y'all know, the first person that was ever banned in my stream got banned for asking me about an OnlyFans. They came into my stream and they asked me if I had an OnlyFans, and Jess immediately banned them. And I didn't even know what that was at the time, because like, you know, that was 6 years ago. Why would I know what OnlyFans was? It was like just getting started. So, watch yourself. That's what I'm saying. But yes, if you, I get this hair flying everywhere. I'm assuming we're being silly with this question. No, that is not something that I would ever do. I'm ace, like I'm not really interested in that kind of content. But however, within that content, I think that there is a more serious question, which is, would I ever do something subscription based, which is definitely possible. So I'm thinking about, like obviously Twitch has subscriptions and stuff like that, but I am thinking about something that I could actually offer that would make sense to be subscription based and worthwhile if it was subscription based. So OnlyFans, but it's just you crafting. Yeah, if you want to get the time lapses, you have to subscribe to the OnlyFans. Or them reading books. So I am thinking about like more voiceover content. That is something that I want to do more of. While you've been gone, I read Loveless and I think I'm asexual. Well, congratulations on your realization, Jam. Okay. Question 17. This is a really sweet one, especially to follow up on the OnlyFans question with. You have a blatant self-insert character in your fanfiction. if you read the fanfic, you'll get a bunch of buttons to press specifically to say either maybe you should unpack that, or quoting that one John Mulaney bit of, now we don't have time to unpack all that. Yeah, that's hilarious. When you're just like accidentally writing about yourself. But yeah, question 17, what do you like most about yourself? Which is a very sweet question. There's actually a lot of things that I like about myself at this point. I feel like very good with myself at this point in my life. So I really like my voice. I love what's happening with my voice, which is also, you know, leading to that sentiment about like I want to be doing more voice work. But I think the other thing that maybe stands out to me is my pattern recognition, because it leads to, do not drink my water, it leads to a lot of entertainment for me. So I really enjoy that I'm able to like just be very happy in my own mind, you know? I wish AO3 showed word count while writing. Are you writing directly into AO3? That's kind of crazy. Somebody get Scrivener for Zephyr. All right. Question 18. What do you like most about the community you've created? I think probably my favorite thing is just like how much everybody cares about this space. Which I feel like kind of gets into the question that I answered earlier about the growth of the Discord. But I just think that, yeah, it's like very special how much everybody has kind of like made this their own thing and wants to take care of it. So that's what really stands out to me, because like I've been in a lot of Discords, I've done moderation work for, you know, a lot of different things in my life, and I would say this is probably one of the most like positive spaces, and it just really feels like everybody cares about taking care of it, so that's really nice. If you will excuse me though, we're gonna take a short break. If you need to get some water or run to the bathroom like me, please do that now. I'll be right back. Fireplace ambiance is very apt for y'all burning downstream. Yeah, I hope you're having fun playing with your fire. Yeah, time to put it out. Alright, I return. Okay. Who did that? Everyone. Everyone together. I know what y'all do. I know what y'all do when I'm not here. You forget that there's a delay. Pausing arson to resume mod duty. Yeah. We literally talked about this when I made Scarlet a mod. Like, Scarlet was like, you know I'm like the main offender, right? I just put Patrick and Krobus. Oh, so you pulled your pants down. So 19 and 20 kind of go together. What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten? I think ties into what weird food combinations do you really enjoy? Because I don't really eat weird stuff. I do get the ick pretty easily, so and to preface this by saying, weird is relative, right? It is going to be a different thing for every culture. For me, as an American who there's not a lot of like bugs intentionally in our cuisine, it would be weird for me to eat crickets. In other cultures, eating a cricket is like everyday street food. It's like totally a normal thing, right? And it wouldn't be weird to eat that if you were a person from that culture. So to preface this by saying, weird is relative. What is strange to some people is not going to be strange to other people. So it's like, you know. But I think the weirdest thing that I do, probably that like I think some other people would find weird, is just the number of things that like I eat baked beans with. Rather than some people, they have to have all of their food separate, right? And they can only eat like one thing at a time. I need to be able to eat all of my food together. And so I have like combinations, like I call it the food rules, where every food needs to have its partner, like its appropriate partner. So many of those foods, baked beans work. Because I really like to have like a saucy element to things, and I like to tick like at least 3 different like flavor boxes. So like salty, sweet, tangy is a good one. So I really like baked beans with macaroni and cheese. And I also really like baked beans with scrambled eggs and specifically bread and butter pickles. So I feel like that would probably offend some. I think that answers that thoroughly enough. It's weird for me to not like baked beans here. Yeah, I know. Eating the beans and the eggs thing is very like English breakfast. So that's part of why I'm like, to some of you this is not even gonna be weird. Yeah, I'm more British than you. Yeah. Question number 21 is, Dad, how did you meet our mother? So how did I meet Jess? So Jess actually picked me. We met when we were in college, and the first day of school, our freshman year, Jess saw me across the cafeteria and was like, I want that one. And then 2 months later, we actually met. So we just had some mutual friends, and I ended up sitting down at the table with Jess. And then by December, we were dating. I asked them out. So, and then that was it. We basically haven't spent a night apart since then. It's been like almost 15 years, I guess. Our 10-year wedding anniversary is coming up, so yeah. It's just one of those things. It's like just happened. But we actually discovered after we started dating that we had like a whole bunch of mutual friends, and we had like I had seen Jess in a play one time without even realizing it, so that was pretty cool. Thanks for hanging out, Black Cat. I'll see you when you get back. That's the cutest bucking story ever. I know. Just picked me. Okay, question 22. To completely switch things up and go from being cute to being really weird. Question 22 is, did you start pooping more when you started testosterone? Apparently this person saw a reel about it. So, I'm gonna answer this because I can't answer it. So, I cannot give you data about this, unfortunately, because, is it not pinned, Zephyr? The AMA link? Why is it not pinned? Oh, did I only pin it for 20 minutes? Okay. There we go. Manually unpinned to the industry. Okay. Oh god, there's 7 in there now. So, in December, I had my gallbladder taken out, and if you know anything about the gallbladder, it helps with your digestion, so the gallbladder holds... That is the mod list. What the fuck? Copy it. Actually copy it. There we go. That should be it. The gallbladder stores bile from, what is it? I don't remember. Pancreas, the liver, something like that. And so it's like slowly releases it in order to like give you the appropriate amount of bile that you need to like break down the food in your digestive tract or something like that. So when you don't have a gallbladder, that basically means you don't have anything regulating the amount of bile that goes into your digestive tract. So it's more of just like, at this point, it's like when I got it, like all of a sudden it's just like, well, I gotta go to the bathroom now. Like it goes from 0 to 60 for me. So did I pin the right thing? No, I didn't. There we go. Now it should be pinned. Thank you. Thank you for the water time. So basically, I cannot contribute to the data for this because I have fucked around with my digestive system, so any information that I could give you about that is completely tainted by the fact that I got my gallbladder out. So. Which is kind of leading me into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is more of an informal question. Which is kind of just like notes on my transition so far. So basically, what changes have I been through since I started testosterone? So I started taking testosterone at the end of January last year. So we're coming up on a year and a half. And I keep getting little ants in here, and I have no idea where they're coming from. I'm gonna kind of just work from the bottom up because I think that's gonna help me kind of like keep track of like what I need to talk about first. One of the most recent things that I've noticed is I've gotten to the point where I have stinky feet. Like everybody gets stinky feet to an extent, right? When you've been sweating and you know in your shoes and your socks all day. But like, oh my god, this is like a whole, like it's that should be illegal. Camille's Creations, welcome in. What a time to get here. So that's like the most recent thing that I've noticed. I'm not loving that one. But then obviously I have a lot more body hair that's growing at this point. I was like pretty like I had a nice head of hair, but other than that I didn't really have a lot of body hair. So like I even had like I had bald spots on my legs. Like, you know, people have been like, oh yeah, if you wear skinny jeans, you know, that'll happen. But it's like I haven't worn skinny jeans in like really long time, so I don't think it's that, right? I loved watching you stitch the Stardew Valley map. I watched every bit. Well, we're have a completely different vibe in here today, so I hope that you'll enjoy this as well. Thank you for coming in. We do have, if you have any questions you wanted to ask, there is a forum. I am still accepting questions for the AMA, or you can just ask in chat. That's totally fine. But new questions I will get to at the end. So, skinny jeans are so uncomfortable. I mean, they were all the rage when I was in high school. What can I say? So definitely more body hair overall. You know, I'm still, that's something that's going to be like coming in for a long time too. And then my skin texture, I've definitely noticed changing. So there's a technique that you can do when you do injections called Z-Tracks, and it's where you're supposed to like pinch your skin when you do an injection, so that for the kind of injection that I'm doing, you want to get your muscle closer to the surface of your skin so that you can go directly into the muscle with the needle. But with Z-Tracks, you want to pull your skin to the side and then pinch up, so that when you release your skin, the like hole of the needle like moves. So Z-Tracks help reduce any medication like coming back up through that track that your needle left. So when I first started doing injections, I couldn't do that because my skin was too like taut, basically. So now I'm mostly noticing it on my thighs and my stomach, I think, but like I feel like my skin just feels like it's looser, which is really weird unless you like, I don't know. It may not make a lot of sense to talk about it unless you like have been through that, but like it just feels like it doesn't sit on top of everything else the same way anymore. Like it is starting to have it doesn't have like the same sort of like slick texture to it that it used to. It feels a bit more like almost like powdery now, like maybe like with a bit less collagen or something. It sort of reminds me like a little bit of how like my grandmother's skin was like not as like bouncy and springy, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily that like I feel like I have like old person skin or something like that. It just like it's just different. It's like more in that direction. So it's interesting. That's another thing that I anticipate will probably continue changing, because I've heard like a lot of people talk about like on testosterone their skin gets more coarse. So very curious to see what happens with that. An interesting thing about having more body hair. I have hair on my stomach now for the first time, and the belly button lint is like on another level. Like I'll just look down and it's like when you clean out the lint trap on your dryer, it's just like sitting on top of my belly button. Like, what is that? Like, what is going on? And then I'm more sweaty now. I'm definitely more sweaty. I feel like when I really get hot, I feel like I just am exuding it in a fine mist. Clown scarf, but belly button version? No, for real. It's more like those dust bunnies from Big Comfy Couch are like living in my belly button, is what it's like. But yeah, my sweat definitely smells a little bit different overall, but fortunately I feel like I'm not too terribly stinky. But I will like smell myself and be like, oh my god, from time to time. It's different, you know. Let's see, what else? Obviously I get hot a lot easier. I feel like that one's pretty well known that happens. I feel like my sense of temperature has shifted where like 70 degrees is now more like 80 degrees to me. Like I can like t-shirt weather has become a much cooler like the cutoff for t-shirt weather is now a much lower temperature. So, which is not great because when we sleep at night, Jess has always been like a total furnace, and it used to be that like when I went to sleep at night, I would cool down and be like corpse temperature. Like I would get so cold while I was sleeping. And now we're both just like radiating heat all night. So if it's hot in our room at all, it's like, oh, don't touch me, because then I'm just dying from how hot it is. You know, my facial hair is a pretty obvious one. I think my hairline is changing now. I feel like I've always had a pretty rounded hairline here, but you can definitely see where it's squaring off more now. I'm sure about it now. I was like wondering not too long ago. I was like, maybe my hairline is changing, but like no, I'm for sure. Like that is different. So I don't feel like my hair is thinning or anything. I just noticed when I you know, pull it to the side, like it's not rounded off there anymore. It's definitely squared off. So, which is good. I did want that. And then my voice, obviously. My voice has changed quite a bit. I had a pretty squeaky voice at the beginning of everything. And it's the one thing I think that's weird about my voice is that I feel like I've lost the ability to like make panicked noises a little bit. Like I really felt it last night because I vacuumed up a spider and then I was gonna go take it outside, and I went to open the storm door and another different spider fell on my hand. By the way, I'm scared of spiders. So it's like I have the range that I'm speaking in, and I can go deeper, and then I have like a really high pitch that I can do, and everything in the middle I feel like I'm locked out of. So like what would have been a normal like yell for me is something that's like gone and I can't access anymore. So I feel like in situations like that, it's almost a little bit panicking to feel like, you know, like when you're in a dream and you try to scream and you can't scream. It's almost that feeling a little bit. It's a little bit weird, but I can scream. Our flag means death-inspired spider hand tattoo win. Never. I will never get a spider tattoo. Freak myself out. But I can scream. I don't know how well it'll pick up because it might peak the mic, but like I'm in a house now, so like I don't have to worry about disturbing my neighbors. So let me back up a little bit. Y'all ready for this? Give Jess a second to catch up so that they're not startled. Okay. I can't do it. It's like I can slip up and it like goes high, but I don't know that I can really control it. And then you wear one glove, problem solved. I'm not doing the Michael Jackson. There's a spider behind you. See, it's like I can do that, but I can't like scream. Oh, this is so random. Hello to everyone that just got here. Hello, Soragano. Welcome in. You're like, what did I just join? So yeah, that's my... Oh, the last thing. All of the waviness of my hair, that's new. That is from testosterone. Other people have talked about that too, how their hair texture changed after testosterone. I think part of it is like environmental, but I really did not start to see this curliness in my hair until I started taking testosterone at all. So that's probably one of the coolest things that I've experienced and that I wasn't anticipating. So yeah, any other questions about that? Let me know for sure. Question number 24 is a fun one. Do you have a curl routine? Absolutely not. It's too much work for me. Question 24 is, do you like frogs? And I'm really glad that we're doing this now because I made sure to get this set up for y'all before the Q&A or the AMA. Yes, frogs are my favorite animal. Capybaras are a close second. But yeah, frogs are my favorite. So I got all my frogs up there. Yes, there are some squishmallows up there. They're old. I'm not throwing away stuffed animals. That's ridiculous. But don't support Squishmallow because they support Israel. T made your hair curly too. It's wonderful. I love that about it. My brother has like super curly hair, so I'm not surprised about it either. You believe it has also gotten lighter. That's interesting. I have like a blonde spot at the back of my neck, but that's been going for years. Yeah, definitely spread the word about that one. Yeah. So I haven't gotten a new one in quite a while because of that, but that used to be our special reward after we would like go to like CVS and get our flu shot or something. Like we got to buy a Squishmallow. It's like a special treat because they like always have the Squishmallows at like the drugstores, but not anymore. Gotta be something else now. Wonder if your hair will get curly once you get back on it. Maybe. I'm on like a full dose too, so I don't know. Like if you're doing a low dose, I don't know if that would affect it as well. But other than Community, question number 25. I still love Squishmallows. I mean, I love mine too. I love the ones that I have. I'm just not gonna give them more money. They're the best freaking pillows. I've also heard though that the newer ones are not as good, so something to keep in mind. You're out for a bit. Thanks for hanging out, Zephyr. Squishables are better quality. That's good to know, Scarlet. I will check that out. Your Wi-Fi died? Holy shit. Other than Community, what's been your favorite part of your crochet journey? I feel like the possibilities that it has unlocked for me, I feel like that's kind of a vague answer, but like I just love being able to make things for myself, and I have learned so much through doing crochet, even about knitting. Like I'm better at knitting now that I do crochet. So I just feel like it has really expanded my horizons. Like I'm making my own clothes, you know, obviously making super detailed tapestries is like a huge a boon. Like I feel like I can make whatever I want, and I love that. Hear the kitty sing the song of her people. I know. Agatha, you can come in here. The door is open. The door is open. Come in. There you go. Good job. Come here. She's so silly. I leave the door open for her and she's just gonna scream about it. Need to be snuggled. Okay. So, 26. This is an interesting one. Hopefully whoever submitted this question is here because I might need your guidance a little bit for this. Which 6 Pokemon would you have on your team if you were a gym leader, and what type leader would you be? So, I am not super knowledgeable about Pokemon. I watched like Pokemon Red, like the show, and I've played a couple of the games, but I don't really know that many of them, like beyond the original 150. So, get off the desk. So I went through and I picked out the ones that I felt spoke to me, not based on type, but just like I like them a lot. Clefairy is probably my favorite Pokemon if I had to pick one. So I picked out Clefairy, Ditto, which I just want to be clear. I know that everybody likes Ditto right now because of the new Pokemon game. I've always liked Ditto, so. But Clefairy, Ditto, where's my water? Espeon, Gengar, Gumi, and Mimikyu, with Trubbish as kind of like an honorary alternate. So, Trubbish I did start to like specifically because of the new game. I will say that. Because, oh my god, he's so cute. So, there's no like real through line with those. Let's see, we have Clefairy is fairy type, Ditto is normal, Espeon is psychic, Gengar is ghost and poison, Gumi is dragon, Mimikyu is ghost and fairy, and then Trubbish is poison. So like, there's kind of like, I feel like there's a synergy with them, but there's not like a cohesive theme. So I was like, what if I just was like a gym leader in Lavender Town, because most of them are like pink/purple. So that's the best I got for you. But like, whenever I play the Pokemon games, the whole entire concept of only focusing on one type of Pokemon in order to do Pokemon battles has always seemed so stupid to me, because I'm like, well, it's like so easy to like figure out how to beat you then. Like, if you only have one Pokemon type. Like, the whole thing with Pokemon is that different types are strong against different stuff. So like, you should stack your team with different types so that they can always take out whatever you're facing. Like, I don't know. Also, like, I don't use stat-based moves. I just attack. Like, I just level up until I'm like 3 levels higher than everyone else, and then I just attack them and then they die immediately. That's how I play it. Why waste time? Why draw out the battle with unnecessary stat power-ups, right? Champions have multiple types? Yeah, I'm just a champion. Just had the blessing of seeing Trubbish for the first time. He's so cute. Okay. Good to know that I'm like legit. Like, being a gym leader is just lame. I'm a champion. Okay. So it's a very sweet question. There's like a Pokemon thing on Google. There's so much information. I went to Bulbapedia and it had a lot of information. Question 27. This is a lot of activity and very specific too. Do you ever worry you will burn out on crochet, streaming, Stardew, or any combination? How can your viewers be supportive of you when there's so much happening all the time? I think that's very sweet for you to ask this in the first place and be concerned about this. And I will actually move. There's another question that's related. I'm gonna move that up so I talk about that next. So I think, as you have pointed out, it is a lot of different things, and that's kind of like intentional, because if I'm doing different things, it's harder to burn out, right? So the variety is kind of like, it's a feature, not a bug, right? So I would say being supportive of me, a good way to do that would just be to try and be involved with as many of those different things as you're interested in. So like, and I think for the most part y'all are, but you know, engaging with my content on social media and then also being in streams is like a huge help, because the more I'm able to like diversify my revenue streams, the less I have to rely on just like one thing, and I can do things kind of like what I'm doing right now. So at the end of last month, I did a really big push on social media because I had an obligation to Meta to produce a certain amount of content in exchange for a bonus. So Meta gave me like a chunk of money for 3 months in a row for agreeing to produce a certain amount of content on both Facebook and Instagram. And so I churned out a whole bunch of extra content in order to fulfill that obligation. So, you know, for the end of last month, I was very focused on social media, and I don't love being that focused on my social media. I would rather make fewer videos of a higher quality than like just churn out a bunch of like random trash, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So now that I've done that though, and kind of like put all that energy into producing videos, I have the freedom to back off of that and just kind of ignore it for a minute. So I would say that's how I deal with it, is that I jump around. I'm all over the place. And that's something that agrees with me a lot. So if I get tired of doing something, I just will stop doing it for a minute and like take a break from it. So you're reaching out to many communities. My old work daughter sent me an Insta of you and told me to check out this insane work, and I was like, girl, that's so funny. It's so weird every time someone's like, oh hey, I know who you are, you know? Like, I commented on somebody's post on Threads the other day because they were talking about like basically like people being disrespectful to crochet by saying it's easy, which like sometimes it is, and I think that's really good. I think that's a good thing. I think that it should be easy. I think that craft being accessible to more people is positive. I don't know why people need to speak negatively about that. But I just kind of responded in a more quippy way by saying, you know, like, them, crochet is easy, me, and then I posted a picture of me with like the completed map and everything. And then the person who had made the thread in the first place responded, and they were like, oh my god, I feel like I just got noticed by a celebrity, like I followed the whole thing. And I was like, it's like so like weird and also like sweet that people have that reaction. But yeah, it's interesting because it's like I feel like I don't always know what my audience looks like, because I know that there are a lot of people who have like seen my content but not necessarily engaged with it, because I do hear stories like that, you know, or like I'll hear, you know, somebody will comment randomly over on Instagram and be like, I literally have been watching the whole thing the entire time on TikTok, I've just never commented, and like I'm randomly commenting now, you know. So it's cool to see that happen. But yeah, I would say keeping up with like the different things that I'm doing is very helpful, and you know, sharing it, I guess. I feel like that's a pretty straightforward one, but like anything that you see any other content creators tell you about a way to support a content creator that you care about is probably going to be true for me too. You know, I really appreciate your attention and the time that y'all give me. So and I would like to make it possible for us all to like support the stream in a way that does not necessarily just involve like, hey, give me money, because I don't really like the idea of like this interaction just being about me like pumping y'all for change or whatever. It's, I don't know, feels weird and not genuine. But yeah, so expanding the audience is good in that way, because then, you know, there's new people to donate. Just kidding. I didn't come to stream until I'd been lurking for a month or so. I felt like you were too skilled and was intimidated. Oh my god. Well, I'm glad that you decided to come in, because I mean, I think that everyone of all skill levels being here is very beautiful, and I don't only want to like interface with people who are like on my level, you know, like I don't get that. So I'm glad that you decided to. How many questions are left? Less than 10. What is that? 8? 8 more. No, 9 more, because I haven't answered this one yet. But that kind of feeds into the next question, which is, do you get burnt out a lot, and if so, how do you deal with it? And I have a story that answers this, which is that I have been through hi Lindsay, welcome in. I have been through a horrific burnout before. When I was in school, when I was in college, I ended up going to school for 5 years, because my degree required a little bit more than your average degree does, and I just couldn't handle taking on like more coursework. So by the time I got to the end of my degree, I had kind of done irreparable damage to myself, to the point where I did not do my best work for my senior show. If you're not familiar with how an art degree works, there is a program called Capstone that you go through when you're doing Bachelor of Fine Arts, and you essentially are presenting or like defending a thesis in the same way a lot of like other degrees would be, but you're doing it with your art instead. So the idea is that you're presenting a show that kind of has like a theme and like a meaning behind it and all of this stuff, and you like present this body of work and you talk about like what it means and all of that. So I really struggled with that. I did not feel like I had the support that I needed to get through that. And a lot of that had to, you know, go along with things like not having like any of my mental health issues diagnosed at the time, or recognized in any way. I was horrifically depressed. So it was just, it was a lot. And I really injured myself. And the burnout that I experienced after that, it was to the point where I was like, if I don't pass the senior show, this is the only thing that I have left to do to get my degree. If I don't pass, I'm not coming back. Like, I was ready to just walk away, regardless of if I got the degree or not, because I was like, I can't do more. So for years, I think it probably took me about 5 years to recover from that, fully. I really hit rock bottom for a while after that. And learning about autism, honestly, was one of the things that really helped me start to like, not just like heal, but like improve after that experience. Because one of the things that I've said, like, I don't have a diagnosis, you know, I'm peer reviewed, so to speak, but it kind of came down to a point for me where it was like, the diagnosis is not the point, because whether or not I claim that label, I am still learning things from this community and this like body like of thinking that are directly helping me. So like, the label is not the point, helping myself improve is the point. So like, taking care of myself is the point. So like, through just learning about like what autism is and how it works, I was able to do a lot for myself to really improve my life, and stop doing things that were harmful to me that I didn't realize were harmful to me. So support and knowledge are armor. A lot of people don't know how to don. That's very beautifully put, Scarlett. Absolutely. And you know, I think that a lot of us sort of do this level of like, it's like a gatekeeping of the mind, where we think that we can't engage with certain resources because we haven't earned them. And it's like, learning about autism by reading about it on a website is not doing literally anything to take away anything from anybody. There is nothing wrong with you doing that, you know? And that's not taking resources from anybody, that's not taking space from anybody. Like, if this philosophy or this explanation is gonna help you live a better life, then you should fucking look at that stuff. The end. And I think, you know, sometimes there's concerns about like, well, we don't just want to say everybody's autistic because, you know, there's other like diagnoses and things that it can be like, if you didn't present this way in childhood but you do in adulthood. And that's one of those things that's like it's an awkward question for me to answer, because it's like, I don't really remember what I was like as a child, so like I can't really, but it comes back to like, this is the information that was helpful for me. Thank you for that water time, Scarlett. So I would say that kind of feeds into like the second part of that question of like, how do I deal with the burnout? And that's just like always coming back to like the center and like reminding myself of like my own needs and like the way that my mind works. And I would say for autistic people as well, burnout can be a lot worse. Like, for the average person, apparently burnout is like this thing that when you stop doing the thing that causes the burnout, you're apparently supposed to like start bouncing back pretty immediately. Thank you for the stretch break, Zephyr. So for autistic people, this is another thing that really made me think like, I think that I'm probably autistic, is that it can really last. It can do like lasting damage. So quitting while you're ahead is very important. So it's kind of like the same as like stretching. You know, you want to stretch as you go. You don't want to wait until you're in a whole bunch of pain to try and do something about it, because then it's kind of too late. Then you're not in like a place to sort of help yourself deal with what you're going through a bit better. You're in a place where you need to stop and do recovery, right? So I feel like recognizing the signs of burnout is very important and very helpful. And I feel like I've gotten pretty good at that. Like I am better at understanding like when something is going to push me too far, because I have had that experience of getting pushed way too far. So, you know, I know that this is something that people have asked me about many times and like regularly expressed concern about, but like I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of what the danger zone is for myself and like where I'm going to be at risk of burning out. And I think that sometimes people see like, oh, you do this one thing so much, like surely that's going to cause you to burn out. And like, again, I'm like, this is another reason I think I'm just autistic, because it's like, no, baby, this is special interest territory. I want to do this and nothing else. So that's why we're here. So it's hard for me to differentiate, because your chronic illnesses are what you're burnt out over, except you can't take a break. Yeah, just muscle through until either everything breaks or something gives. Yeah, that's a hard one. That can really, like, I've been through a couple of weird, random, like, I was just like having chronic pain and I couldn't get it to stop. And I think it was probably related to like some physical stuff that I was doing, but like, you know, I had a job that I worked at one point that ended up kind of fucking up my shoulder. And so after I quit that job, I was still dealing with like the neck and the shoulder pain for a long time after that. And it was contributing to a lot of migraines. Are you going to post the VOD? Yes, it will be available. It should be available on YouTube immediately, because I'm streaming direct to YouTube. So, hi Odd, welcome in. But yes, you should be able to access the VOD immediately after stream ends. But yeah, dealing with that, it just made it so hard to do anything, you know. So chronic conditions, yeah, that's such a tough one. And it's so frustrating, like, regardless of when you have those days, I kind of call them rot days, where you have to like just kind of give in and accept like, it is necessary for me to do absolutely nothing today. I need to lay on the bed and not move and like maybe watch TV, and that's it, because anything else is gonna set me back, you know. And you have to just, after a point, you have to embrace that that's like a necessary part of your life. Gotta go to bed. Have a great night, Birds. Thanks for hanging out. You got burnt out from school. You ended up not picking up a book for 5+ years. Yeah. It disrupted my reading as well. I didn't read for a long time. I still don't read as much as I used to. I used to read, like, I would inhale books as a child. And so it's kind of sad for me that it kind of like killed some of that for me going through school. But I am back to a point where I am doing some reading recreationally now, which is nice. So, but I think we pretty thoroughly answered that. Question 29. How did you get your cats? How old are they? How long have they lived with you? Did they have different names before you adopted them? So all 3 of my cats, Jude has passed. She passed in December, and she's still one of my cats, you know. Jude, Agatha, and Carmilla are my 3 kitties. Jude was 13 when she passed. Agatha is currently 13, and Carmilla is 10, and she will be 11 in September. And I have had all 3 of them, like I got all 3 of them when they were baby kittens, when they were like just old enough to be taken away from their parents, pretty much. So Jude was the first one that kind of kicked off adopting kittens for us, because Jess and I were living in the dorms still at school at that time, and Jess and our roommate, we were driving over to Walmart, and I'm from Georgia. Like, I went to school in Georgia. I spent the first, like, 20 some years of my life living in Georgia. So it is very common in Georgia and in other areas of the South, probably, for people to just be, like, giving away animals on the side of the road. It's weird living in the North and, like, having to jump through so many hoops to adopt an animal here, because it is just not how it is in the South. Like, people will literally just give you animals because there's so many. Like, people in Massachusetts, when I was living in Massachusetts, like, the shelters in Massachusetts would literally, like, ship in animals from the South in order for people to adopt them out, because the shelters are all full in the South. They're full. So there's a lot more kill shelters and things like that. So people, I feel like when people have like a litter of puppies or a litter of kittens or something, they're more likely to just like go to Walmart and give them away in the parking lot, because you don't want to take them to the shelter. They're just going to kill them. So they were joking, Jess and my roommate, they were joking. They were like, if we go to Walmart today and there's kittens, can we get a kitten? And I was like, yeah, sure. If we go to Walmart and there's kittens, we'll get a kitten. Like, not really taking it that seriously. I knew there was a chance. Okay, I knew it was a possibility. Like, I'm aware of how often that happened. And of course, there were kittens that day. So we picked out a kitten from the back of somebody's truck bed, and that was Jude. We almost picked her brother. I think it was her brother, but he had some poop stuck to his butt, so it ended up being this Jude. And she just immediately crawled up on Jess's shoulder, and it was history. There's a great picture of her when she was like still pretty young, sitting on my shoulder after I'd gotten out of the shower, and I had a buzz cut at the time, and she was licking the shower water off of my hair. She's always been a little freak. Yeah, spay your animals, for real. Boof was from a kill shelter, and Holly Pocket was handed to me to avoid shelter life. Yeah, important to keep animals out of those shelters. Got one kitten because a guy had a sign on the side of the road that said free kittens, and you made your mom stop. Yeah, that's one of my childhood dog that I had from the time that I was like 14 until I left home and he stayed with my mom. His name was Boone. And we got him because my brother's girlfriend picked him up from a Taco Bell parking lot and then couldn't keep him, so we got him instead. But I basically raised Boone out of his puppyhood and stuff. But yeah, so Jude was my first cat as an adult. And we ended up moving out of the dorms because of having the cat. Yeah, Miss Agatha's back there right now. And we were really scared that we were gonna get caught, but we found out later, we ended up telling the person who was our RA at the time about it, and she was like, oh damn, I wish I'd known, like we would have just come to hang out with the cat, we wouldn't have cared. But she was such a good girl. She did so good in the dorms. So after we moved out, we were worried that she was going to get too lonely, so we ended up getting a second cat about 6 months after. Miss Agatha is like 5 or 6 months younger than Jude was. But Agatha was from a colony of barn cats. I feel like colony is not an exaggeration. So we went down, one of Jess's friends had a property, like the house that they lived at, just had a whole bunch of stray cats living there. And so we basically went down there and just like had our pick of several litters worth. There was this one really, really little cute white kitty cat that was just like standing there like yelling the entire time that we were there, but that kitty was too young to take, so. But we had Jude with us, which I'm sure she would have wished that we didn't bring her. But we brought her in her carrier to kind of see if she would like vibe with the cats at all, and she was not too happy about it. But all of the other kittens were like playing in a bush. Miss Agatha came over and she was like playing with the strap of Jude's carrier, and so that was kind of how we ended up picking her, because we had been like eyeballing her sister, who had a little bobtail, and we thought it was so cute. But that kitten was just like obsessed with being in the bush and like didn't really care about us at all. And so it just felt special that like Agatha was like interested in us, so we ended up going with Agatha. And then on the way home, Jude was like in her carrier all freaked out, and so we ended up swapping them. We took Jude out of the carrier and put Agatha in there instead, and Agatha just like passed out in the middle of the carrier, this little like scrap of fluff. And then don't do this, I know better than this now, but leave your cat in the carrier in the car. It's dangerous. They don't have a seatbelt on. But Jude did end up riding home in my lap. She just stayed in my lap the whole time. So that's the first two. And then Carmilla came to us years later. One of Jess's co-workers, I believe, or friends, I don't remember how Jess knew this person, but she had taken in a stray cat who was an all-white cat, and her name was Paudrey Hepburn, and they did not know when they took her in that she was pregnant. So she ended up having a litter of kittens that were literally all different colors. She had like 2 black kittens, like an orange kitten, 2 white kittens, a couple gray kittens, something like that. It was so funny. So we weren't like looking to get a kitten, but we ended up telling that friend like, well, if there's a little black kitten, we'll take her. And of course there were 2, so we ended up picking out Carmilla. And so yeah, that's my cats. So none of them really had names before we adopted them. I think Carmilla may have had like a pseudo name, but I don't even know what it was. It was just kind of like, I think that they had kind of like given the kittens kind of like temporary names, sort of, you know, like kind of like a step above numbering them, basically. Can we see Carmilla too? I think she might be in the room with Jess if Jess wants to bring her by. Bye Jam, thanks for hanging out. But yeah, I'll see if we can get Carmilla in here. Miss Agatha just came back, so fun fact. So yeah, they're all babies. They're all serious little babies. Boof was so dirty at the shelter they had him listed as gray and black. He's white and brindle. Oh my god. What a silly little man. What is your favorite part about streaming? Or second favorite thing if being paid is the first favorite? Being paid is definitely a nice bonus, but let me just put it like this. It's definitely I'm not getting hourly out of this. So. But I would say I like that it gives me a little bit of structure. Cause I am very like freeform with my time right now because I'm self-employed, so like I can kind of do whatever I want to. So streaming is the one thing that kind of keeps me attached to some level of having a schedule, and I do think that is healthy for me. So that's probably my favorite thing about it. And like obviously we get to hang out, and that's cool too. We can also do that in Discord. So 31. If you were to be transported into any fandom or reality, what would it be? I really had to think about this one, but I think probably Palia. If you have not played Palia, I feel like living in Palia would be pretty freaking awesome. I highly recommend Palia. It is a free game. It's open world. It's cozy. It's a good game. Okay, here we go. This is why I have not showed off the tattoos yet, because it's a question on this list. How many tattoos do you have? I have currently 6 tattoos. I'm not gonna show you all of them because I think it's against TOS for me to unbutton my pants on stream. I wouldn't be showing you an inappropriate part of my body, but I think just the action of unbuttoning my pants is going a little bit far, which I would have to do. It's on my hip. So you'll just have to take my word for it. But it is the anti-possession charm from Supernatural. It's not an ass tat, it's a hip tat. So I've had that was my first tattoo. I got that one together with one of my friends. It is pretty blown out at this point. So oh, you were coworkers. Okay, thank you. I thought so. It is pretty blown out at this point. So I kind of want to get in touch with a friend that like I got it with. It's like we got matching ones. I kind of want to get in touch with her and be like, hey, do you want to get like matching cover-ups? Not because I don't like that we got this together, just because it looks kind of bad at this point. So that might be a fun thing to do at some point. But that was my first one. My second one is right here. This is a matching tattoo with Jess. And it's a little acorn, and there's a little star there. The camera is backwards, and it's really throwing me. So, it's a Peter Pan reference. It's like the acorn from Peter Pan. and that's why there's a little star as well. Yes, it's just the AMA stream. The Hearing Me Outs thing will be a different thing. And then everything else is on my arm. So after that, I got BMO, and then I got Probus, and this guy was actually technically next. The Junimo, and then this little Cupid doll devil guy here. So that's the rest of them. I do want to get this whole sleeve arm filled up with like little sticker things like that. I call this my little guy sleeve, and then this arm I want to do like plants and frogs and bugs. I'm like saving this spot in particular for like a cicada. So hi Shy, welcome in. Show me your feet. No, come on, be serious. Do you have Carmilla? Oh, I'm so sorry we disturbed you. Carmilla's here. Are you grouchy? Are you grouchy? Are you being a little grouchy baby? You're so good. You're such a good girl. Okay, that's my tattoos. This ties nicely with question 33, which is how are the babies? They're doing great. They adjusted really well. They were a little freaked out at first. I did have to give Agatha some anxiety medication for the first couple of days so that she could stay calm, but they've done pretty great at this point. They do so good in the car. It's crazy. I wanted to talk a little bit about the road trip today as well, so I can do that. But yeah, they stayed very calm in the car. There were a couple of days towards the end there where Carmilla was starting to get like a little bit fed up, and so she was like crying a lot, but no accidents or anything like that. They handled it like champions, so you're doing great. Question 34, would you like a croissant? Yes, I would love one, thank you. Question 35, what is your favorite genre of music? I really don't feel like I have a favorite genre. I don't feel like I have a favorite band, you know? Okay, let's not be grouchy. Bye, Carmilla. I like a lot of different things. Probably rock and alternative is like in the top slot, but I would also say like hip hop is pretty up there. I like fast and loud. So I like there to be a really solid like through line and a continuous beat in the music. I don't really like it when things change up too much. Not a big fan of jazz, gotta admit it. Not a big fan of country, although there is, I mean, I can name several country songs that I like, you know? So I would say that I like a little bit of everything, but fast and loud is probably my preference. So whatever that ends up looking like. I do enjoy rap. I do enjoy pop, you know. I feel like I don't always need genre, and like genre often steers me wrong. Like there's this one thing that I'm like looking for, like there's like a category of music, and maybe I can share the playlist that I've made later, but like I can't find a genre that like appropriately suits what I'm looking for out of the songs that I've compiled into this playlist, because like the genre starts to go off in like in a different direction. I'm like, no, but I just want the thing that like all of these songs have in common, and there's like it seems like there's not a genre for that. So Lizzie Flower, hello, you have a question? There's a Google form link there if you would like to submit it there, or you can save it for the end. I actually only have one question left, and then I will start taking like new questions. So up to you. Are you going to talk about your trans experience? I actually did that earlier, Lizzie. So if you watch back through the VOD, I mean, unless you have, I talked about the changes that I've experienced on testosterone so far. But if there's like another element of like my experience that you're wondering about, you can certainly let me know, and I can kind of like circle back to that once I get through the rest of the questions for sure. Question 36 is this will go quick. Would you rather only be able to crochet Joja / Sexy Morris related things for the rest of your life, or have your fingers and toes switch places? Okay, here we go. I'm guessing this one is Zephyr. And I feel like this is a pretty easy one for me to answer. Obviously, the crochet one. Is that even a question? Please don't switch my fingers and toes. Okay. Oh my goodness. There are so many more responses than there were earlier. Let me see here. Alright. They didn't say you still couldn't crochet. Doesn't matter. Body horror. That's body horror for me. If you... That scene, there's the scene from The Last King of Scotland that unfortunately lives rent-free in my head. I am not recommending you watch that movie. It's the most disturbing thing I've ever seen in my life. And that's a bit too close to that thing. So, I'm gonna pass on that. Okay, we got a new question here. What's the gayest thing you've got planned for Pride Month? Nothing. I don't have plans for Pride Month. I just moved. My life is in shambles. Yes, if y'all have new questions, you can feel free to add them in chat, and I will just like go through as I see them. Lizzie says, name something that you wish you had but lost when it comes to being trans. I don't know. I don't know that I really have anything for that. Maybe, I guess I will say, maybe with my voice. I really like where my voice is, and 100% I prefer what I have now versus what I used to have. But I guess I would like it if instead of losing what my voice used to sound like in order to have what my voice sounds like now, I wish that like my range had just like expanded so that like I could do all of the octaves instead of only like some of the octaves at a time. Which I feel like some people do achieve that with voice training, but I was never gonna do that. That's way too much work for me. Like, that's the whole thing about being trans, like, or maybe not being trans, but like transitioning medically, is that it is all in the interest of like making my life easier and less of something that like I have to think about all the time. I feel like that's what I've really gained from being on testosterone. It's just that like my body is something that is like no longer on my mind at all, right? It's like it's a weight that has been lifted. So just existing, like I don't feel like I have to do anything in order to like exist as me anymore, you know? And that's so worth it. So I don't know. I don't really feel like I've lost that much in the transition, I guess. I mean, things are still in flux, you know. I'm still anticipating that more stuff will change. I might continue to get stinkier, you know. That's not my favorite thing, but I'm willing to put up with that. It's 95 degrees, you're poolside and you're ravenous. What you eatin'? I feel like I do eat fish sometimes. I don't eat fish a lot, but I do eat fish sometimes. A fresh tuna salad sandwich, I feel like would really hit in that situation. With a nice cold cola and a bag of chips. At the pool, that's what you need. Could probably put 2 of those sandwiches away. What is your favorite pride flag? The queer pride flag. That's the best one. I'm sorry. Have you seen the queer pride flag? Hang on. Not the gay pride flag. The queer pride flag. Let me pull that up here. So that is this one. Look at it. It's so pretty. So that's my favorite flag. Of my flags anyway. There may be another one that I'm not thinking of, but... Oh, well, the evil non-binary flag, when you put it like that. That is probably my favorite flag, not necessarily for the aesthetics of it, but just for, like, its existence. Which is maybe that's 2 different questions. So, like, my favorite pride flag in terms of, like, the colors is probably the queer pride flag. But yeah, my favorite pride flag in terms of, like, what it stands for, definitely the evil non-binary flag. That's my entire identity. I love that exists. Thank you for reminding me. The lesbian pride flag being so cute is part of what helped me realize I wasn't pan. You know what? It's valid. It's valid. Do you wear wigs? Follow up. Have you worn wigs? Will you wear wigs? And when will you wear wigs? So, a little Lord of the Rings reference for you there. I've maybe worn a wig one time. And no, I will not wear wigs because they're itchy and I hate that. I can barely wear hats. I can barely have my hair in a ponytail for like more than an hour. My scalp is very sensitive, so having my hair pulled back for an extended amount of time will give me a migraine for sure. So wigs are definitely not sensory friendly for me. One of the very first pictures you ever sent me was of you in a huge curly wig your brother found at family Thanksgiving before we were dating. That is like what I'm thinking of. That's like one of the only times that I've like put a wig on my head. I know, I'm so charming. I'm so charming. What came first when making the map? Your transition or the map? I've seen many voiceovers. Yours is the best voiceover as it changes. Thank you. My transition actually did come first. So it may not be super obvious because generally some people get really lucky, but generally when you start taking testosterone, things don't like change immediately. So at the point that I started making the map, I had been on testosterone for 2 months. And so you can hear that my voice starts to change not too long after that. But that's because like I had the head start with the testosterone. So, and like also there's a lot more to my transition than just being on testosterone. Like, you know, I've been non-binary recognized myself as non-binary for a lot longer than just the past year and a half. So definitely my transition. I think it's such a like happy coincidence that making the map aligned with that in the way that it did, because that was definitely not planned. Like I started filming a separate series in order to keep track of my voice change of like, you know, just my name is Jack and this is me 1 month, 2 month, whatever on testosterone. I have those videos still. I think I stopped. I don't think I bothered doing the 1 year mark because by that point it was pretty clear that the map updates were functioning in that way and I didn't really need to, but I at least have like part of it. So I will probably post some of that at one point. Can I DM you about your vocal changes at some point for Vocal Teacher Science? Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I'm happy to talk about this stuff with you all, for sure. Another, what is your favorite genre of music? We've been over that one. How would you approach someone that you think wants to be friends or might be flirting with you? Very unclear. With panic in my eyes. That is something that I literally went through that the other day, and I was like, oh my god, what do I do? I still don't know how to handle that. I didn't really think that they were flirting with me. I was just very confused about what was happening. Because one of the movers that we had gave me his number, or like traded numbers with me, because he also does like odd jobs and he's in the area. So he was like, if you ever need help moving anything else, you can just let me know personally and I'll come help you. And then he was texting me about it, and he was like, and also I have a private life. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, I was like, I don't really know how to respond to this. So I ended up texting him like, are you asking if we can hang out? And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm autistic. I just need things spelled out for me sometimes. And he meant that he's LGBT, which I can see how that would be what that would mean. I just was so thrown by it. But that just was very much turned into me like spiraling a little bit over like, it was this person trying to be my friend. Like, is it awkward that like I took it to that place? Like, I don't really know what to do with this. So like, I'm real, like the friendship thing is like very awkward for me, to be honest. Like, I do a lot better with like people that like I've just had the chance to like be around for a while and interact with them more. Like, if I don't know you well enough to discern whether or not your behavior is flirting, I'm gonna be confused and uncomfortable. Like, I just really don't like it when people flirt with me. And like Jess had the right idea, because Jess let me come to them. So we started as friends, and so there was no weirdness of like, what is happening with this interaction. But like, if I notice that you are flirting with me, like if you are flirting with me enough for me to notice that you are flirting, I am uncomfortable. Like, I really don't like that. I don't like how people, like, it makes me feel like panicked a little bit when people are flirting with me that hard. So I'm either oblivious or I'm uncomfortable when it comes to flirting. So I don't really know if that's a very good answer, but that's a hard one for me. While I agonized, yeah, you kept your pining inside, so I didn't know. Yeah, the other side of the story. Look, y'all know what I'm like, okay? I'm being very upfront about it. Okay, the genre of music was already, it's like mixing up the order of responses here. There was the Sexy Morris one. Rank Stardew characters by reactions they would have to someone coming out, or do top/worst 5. Okay, well, obviously, if we're talking about who's the worst, it's George, obviously. And then probably, I would say, let me name these and then I'll go back and I'll reorder them and explain why. George, Lewis, Pam, there's so many options. Pam, Pierre, Shane, and then Morris is an honorary alternate. So George is number 1. He is canonically homophobic. We know this. So coming out to him is not a good idea. Number 2 is probably Lewis. I feel like he just has like boomer energy to the point that he's not going to be helpful at all. And then who else did I say? I've already forgotten what I said. Oh, I feel like Pierre is just gonna make the whole thing awkward, right? he's gonna be flustered and probably say something stupid. And then Shane, well, I guess it depends on what point. A Shane that you don't have a lot of hearts with is gonna be a dick to you, so it's pretty clear. He's gonna be like, why should I care, you know? He gets nicer. Pam, I feel like, is another one of those ones who's like, well, as long as, she's probably gonna be like, as long as you're not one of those gays, you know? Like, I don't know. I feel like Pam probably does not have very progressive politics. And then, Morris has big, monetized pride vibes. He's slimy. What do you in chat think Pierre's secret stash is? I think that we've talked about this before. I think somebody said it was like sushi or something. They thought it was sushi. Weed is an obvious one. I think it's porn. I think that he's got nudie mags in there. Pam is high key. Okay, just don't ever flirt with me. Pam makes me think of a neighbor that I used to have who lived downstairs from me, and she said to me and Jess that she liked us and that she didn't mind that we were lesbians, but that she thought that gay men were gross. And I'm like, why did you think that I would be okay with you telling me this? That's what I feel like Pam would be like. Yeah. Real interactions that have happened. Okay, Lizzie, if you could tell someone who wants to transition, what advice would you give? Do what's comfortable for you and do it for you. I feel like everybody's experience is so different, and that's totally okay. But like, it's a personal experience. Your transition doesn't have to look like any one thing. It does not have to be framed by whether or not you are on any kind of hormone replacement therapy. You don't have to dress a certain way. You don't have to act a certain way. Like, your identity is something that belongs to you no matter what it ends up looking like. And so, like, don't let people box you into a corner with it. If you want to experiment with stuff, experiment, you know? One thing that I feel so strongly about, I'm considering getting it tattooed on me somewhere, is the phrase, regret is a human right. Because I think that people focus too much on this idea of detransitioning. Like, what if you try something and you don't like it? That's being a human, baby. Like, you try things all the time that you don't like. People get plastic surgery and regret it, right? Like, we shouldn't have people out here regulating whether or not we are allowed to legally make mistakes. Of course we are. We're people. We're gonna do it regardless. So, don't be afraid to change your mind. It's okay to change your mind. You feel like Pierre's secret stash is a dossier of Rasmodius and Caroline? Oh my god, that's fucked up. Rasmodius and Caroline fanfiction. Does Pierre have a cup chair, you think? When is the Stardew with Jess stream planned for? I'm going to try and make a calendar for the month to plan out the streams, but I believe we are doing it on the 21st of this month. So, wait, no, the 14th. No, the 21st. Sorry, this is why I'm going to put it on the calendar, so that it's more clear. But it's, yeah, because this Sunday is the 7th. So not next Sunday, but the Sunday after that. We talked about this already. So the 21st. It should be on the 21st. When is the Stardew stream with Jess? Our multiplayer stream. Did they get to my question yet? I should have gotten to it, yes, because I've answered all of them, I believe, at this point. Let me refresh to make sure there's not anything new. Yeah, I've answered all the questions. So if you have any new questions, feel free to... No? What did you ask? What was yours? Tell on yourself. Yes, I answered the wigs one. I know what that is. When is the cursed fic due by? I am giving you as long as possible. How long do you think that you will need? Because I can do it whenever, you know. I would probably like to do it, you know, within the year, maybe. But, I'm not giving you a hard deadline or anything. And if you don't complete it, I'll just read whatever you have done, you know. They need 2 years. Yeah, a couple of the redemptions from the subathon involve me doing live readings of various fanfictions. So, one of them is the one that Zephyr is writing. Like she just wants to join the stream. Well, you'll be glad to know, Alex. I have been informed that for the Cleliot fic, it apparently does not get racy until like really deep into it. So I'm not going to age restrict the initial reading. I don't even know how much of that one I'll end up being able to read because it's really long. But I'll do my best. So I have been informed at what chapter it starts to get racy, so I will not age restrict it until we get close to that. Chapter 2 of mine might not be child friendly. I had a feeling that yours was going to be a solid no. But for the Cleliot one, you can be there, at least for most of it. Bye, Phoenix. Thanks for hanging out. Exactly, and you won't be done until 2028. Well, I'm definitely reading it before 2028. I'll tell you that much. Because, I mean, I'm sure we'll have moved on to a whole new subathon by then. Those who can't do teach, yeah, absolutely. Look, we may be ace, but we can still appreciate the aesthetics, you know? Yaoi or Yuri? Zephyr is writing Cursed, what is it? It's Pierre, Morris, and then I believe it's like a Clint love triangle situation is what it is. It's crack shipping over there. Or is that just a question of do I prefer Yaoi or Yuri? Because, I mean, why choose, right? Asexuals are going to take over Denmark. How many good representations that are trans that you like? Do you mean like real life trans people, or do you mean like trans people in like media, like in TV shows and writing and things like that? Gosh, it's hard for me to think of things in the moment sometimes. That's why I like to prep ahead of time. Because people will ask me like, what's your favorite movie? And then I go blank and I can't remember any movies. Like a single movie, not even like ones that I like, just like any movie that exists. I thought, this is a weird one. I'm a big fan of the horror genre. I really like horror movies. And so when I watched Hereditary, I was very excited because I felt like that was definitely there was like a trans allegory hidden in there that I thought was a lot of fun. It's like I know I've seen things. Oh, Steven Universe. I love Steven Universe. And that's again a very trans allegory. I'm like trying to think. I know I have examples of things that are like explicitly trans and not just like subtextually trans, but I'm just like I literally can't think of anything right now. Been working on an Elliot / Transmask user Stardew Valley fanfic, like a YN like insert your name fanfic. Oh, I actually haven't seen I Saw the TV Glow. People really put the pause on that for me because of talking about how it made them cry, and I was like, I don't always like gravitate towards a thing if people tell me it's gonna make me cry, but I know I need to watch it. I have plans to, especially with some of the new stuff that director is putting out, so, but I haven't seen it yet. It is horror and cry, yeah. Oh, not quite YN, more an insert an OC of my own. Totally. Stevonnie really made me wonder about gender fluid, non-binary stuff. Yeah, Stevonnie is such an incredible character. Just like that episode where Stevonnie gets stranded is such a good one. Like, that's a gender euphoria episode right there. Probably because I'm Arrow and 99.9% of the time YN is something I would never ever do. So the YN thing is so funny because I love people essentially making YN, especially like female YN, her own character. It's basically like another way of saying Mary Sue at this point. What is Stevonnie from? From Steven Universe. So I feel like it's a lot easier to imagine YN as being like not even like an insert for you. It's like that's its own character right there. Only watch the first 2 episodes. I can't capture YN's beauty. I love their stuff so much. Yes. You should really watch more Steven Universe, Alex. It's so good. I think that you would really like it. I would say like the first half of season 1 to maybe like even the 3/4 of season 1 feels kind of juvenile. It's like not my favorite thing to rewatch. However, it starts establishing the plot immediately. A lot of the things that you're watching in season 1 that you're like, oh, well, this is just like silly filler, fluffy stuff. Like, it's not. It's really not. And then the end of season 1 pops the fuck off. It's so good. And then it just like doesn't stop after that. It's just like banger after banger after banger. Like, it is such a good show. And Steven Universe Future, I watched it once and I don't think I'll ever be able to watch it again because it spoke to me so deeply in my soul that I think I took permanent damage. So I highly recommend watching Steven Universe. It is so worth it. Have you heard people won't read first person because they wouldn't do what the narrator is doing? Yeah, people lack information and media literacy. It's so hard. It's people skipping anything that isn't dialogue. It's like, well, then you're not really reading the book, are you? Like, love the trend that was like POV, you're a side character who YN mentioned in a slightly bad way, and Alpha CEO billionaire werewolf vampire boss comes after you. Have you heard of the Hot Girls Read trademark nonsense? Yes. So I feel like the Hot Girls Read thing goes along really well with what's happening with Patagonia right now. I will kind of briefly explain what both of those things are right now. I don't know as much about the specifics of Hot Girls Read, but yeah, in a nutshell, it's a small business owner trademarked Hot Girls Read, which has kind of been like, you know, a hashtag on social media that a bunch of people have been sort of forming a community under, apparently. And so there's a bunch of people mad at her for that right now. And then the Patagonia thing, Patagonia, who is a drag queen, is being sued by the apparel and outdoor equipment company Patagonia currently for alleged trademark infringement. So the thing with Patty is that she recently filed a trademark for her name because another drag queen, I believe, I forget which one, recently had her name ripped off, I think by RuPaul, like RuPaul's Drag Race. And so Patty is like, I'm gonna protect myself as a drag queen because of that. And so now Patagonia, the company, is like trying to sue her to essentially stop her from doing that. And a lot of people, it's really crazy how it's awakening people being a shill for a large corporation now, because so many people are saying like, well, y'all can understand why AI is bad because it infringes on artists' rights, but shouldn't you then be defending copyright? And it's like, no, because the way that copyright and trademark works is rooted in capitalism to the degree that it does not protect artists in the way that it could or should. Like, copyright and trademark are very much intertwined with predatory practices and forcing people to pay money in order to defend themselves in a way that they fundamentally shouldn't. Like, when you are an artist and you produce a work of art, you automatically own the copyright to that work, right? That is something that like is inherent. However, when things get taken to court, you will have a much easier time defending yourself if you have gone through the process of officially filing things like copyrights and trademarks. So, because then you have like proof that you are the one that created that, rather than just like, well, I have the file, right? So the problem with that is that if you create something and then somebody takes it and jumps on the trademark before you can get there, because it's not cheap to do that. It's not free to file a trademark. Like, if I were to trademark my name, my business name, that's like $5,000 or something. Like, it's expensive. So it is predatory because it's taking something that is not free, it's not accessible to everyone, and it's making it possible for other people to like exploit and steal from others with legal protection through this mechanism. So this idea of, if somebody is a copyright or a trademark holder, then you have to defend them in order to protect small artists, is so tone deaf, because Hot Girls Read is a perfect example. It's something that should belong to the community, and it is being exploited by one person for gain. And I think sort of something that is a great counter to that idea is, I just saw a thing about the person who originally created the pride flag, right? The original, I think, what is it, 7 colors, the 7-color rainbow flag, never like imposed a copyright or a trademark on that design, and ensured that that was something that would be able to belong to the community for everyone to use in perpetuity without them having to worry about the legal ramifications. And you may think, well, how can a rainbow flag be something that someone could copyright or trademark? And then you remember things like what happened with the Smiley Face Corporation. So in case you weren't aware, the classic yellow circle smiley face and the term smiley face, that's owned by someone. Somebody owns that. So at one point in time, they went through all of the listings on Etsy that included the hashtag smiley, and they sent takedown notices and got a bunch of their shops suspended from Etsy, and got them stuck in like legal red tape purgatory for a while, where they couldn't make any money from their Etsy shops because Etsy was not being cooperative in recognizing an obvious, unfair takedown request. But over a smiley face, something as basic and uncreative as a smiley face. So you may want to act like, I just think that it's completely a false equivalency to act like being anti-IA means that you have to be
pro protecting a corporation, protecting their trademark, which I disagree that is even the case. I disagree that Patagonia as an entity can easily be confused with Patagonia, the brand, which again, if you're not aware, Patagonia is a region in South America. It's not a word that they came up with. So, there's a lot of elements to it, but like, some bullshittery right there. That's my soapbox. Remember a kerfuffle happening with that regarding some of Epic the Musical's tracks? There are bots that troll her YouTube for original music that artists are uploading, and if there's not a copyrighted track, they claim the copyright themselves seek the licensing fees via YouTube. Yeah, that predatory shit is like, it's at which they shouldn't be able to do that, by the way, because again, if you as an artist are creating something, you own the copyright, but when somebody else does that to you, it forces you into this loophole of like, you then have to go through the legal process of proving that. You know, it's not that the copyright isn't rightfully yours, it's that you are now being forced to prove it, and that shit costs time and money. Not everybody has that, so some people will just let it go. Hi Lucid, how are you doing? Why do so many people come for Patty? I know, I think it feels very like targeted, you know, how like people will get onto Chapel Roan for literally nothing, and it's just because like, here is a queer woman in the industry very clearly like standing up for what's right, and there's obviously a contingent of people that don't like that and have an interest in opposing that and her message, and so they will literally do whatever they can to demonize her. And I'm not about to be like, well, Chapel Roan is perfect and could literally never do anything wrong. I mean, I feel like that a little bit because have you seen her? But everybody makes mistakes, and I think that when you make a mistake that you should own up for that. But like, we have people like canceling her over shit that literally a man did that had nothing to do with her. Like that whole thing of like some security guard in whatever country it was, I forget, like I think it was like Brazil maybe, like bitched out a little child, and everyone's like, that's Chapel Roan's security guard, she hates children, and it's like, it literally wasn't even anyone who had anything to do with her, but now she's responsible for it. That doesn't make any sense. And I feel like with Patagonia, because Patagonia does so much environmental advocacy work, I'm like, is this just about hating queer people and hating environmental activists? Because it feels a little suspicious that we've got this many people all of a sudden ready to jump on a corporation stick like this. Bye, Scarlett. Thanks for hanging out. Who do you think is faster, Scout from Team Fortress 2 or Octane from Apex Legends? Well, I don't know anything about either of those things, but I'm gonna go for Scout, just for fun. One of the other creators you were following reacted to a few songs in Ocean Saga, and they realized that the license fees they were paying weren't going to Jorge. It's Jorge, right? Is it Jorge or George? I'm all thrown off because that one guy on 90 Day Fiancé says it like George. Epic. So they did a deep dive into it. Thanks, Alex. That's very helpful. And he's Puerto Rican. Okay, like I said, I know of another person who says it like George, so like I feel like I can't assume. They did a deep dive into it and didn't upload the videos to YouTube, just to Patreon while they reached out to him. Okay. Jorge, thank you. She got banned from performing in Rio over it. Yeah, the fact that the government... It's just gross. It's just gross. She'll literally be like, oh, I love dogs. And everyone's like, so you hate cats? Wow, cancel her. She wants to murder all cats. Like, come on. Be so fucking for real. Also, like, everyone getting so up in arms over cancel culture. Cancel culture is not real, by the way. Like, show me a man who's been canceled and then actually was never able to come back from that. Jesus was canceled. I was about to say, name a better example of someone literally coming back from that. Do y'all watch Okie Dokie? I don't think I've heard of her, no. Love her videos discussing misogyny slap. I watch Medusany. I think that she has a lot of really good videos that sort of cover like really, I feel like it sounds really over dramatic to say it like this, but like it's kind of like targeted attacks against women, like tearing down a woman's public identity. Like she did a whole thing covering the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial and really deep diving into what a smear campaign that was on the part of Amber Heard. I don't, you know, if this brings up any deep feelings, sorry, I don't know how much of a hornet's nest that is. But, I mean, Johnny Depp was in the wrong, so P.S., that's how I feel about that. But I understood the situation a lot better after watching her videos and her presentation of all of the evidence. Okie Dokie is does similar content. Okay, for sure, I would have to check that out. Did Amber Heard come back since it was proven Johnny lied in court? I don't know. I mean, what counts as like coming back? Like, is she getting work? Like, and also like people will go like, oh, Johnny like won the case. That proves he didn't abuse her. That's not what the case was. The case was not to prove whether or not there was abuse. The case was about, first of all, it was civil, not criminal. So that's a different process. It was a defamation case. So basically it was saying whether or not Amber had the right to say something that she said in a magazine interview or something about how she had been abused, which she didn't even like name him in that. And also there was another case in the UK where it was proven that he abused her, but like it was literally like part of the case where they had to like conclude that abuse did happen conclusively from him in order to like even like prove his point. So it's like a whole weird thing. But the Medusany video is, yeah, I don't know what anybody would be referring to by saying Amber lied about something. Like, I don't know, maybe she did misrepresent the truth about like one or two things, but like, or can we even say that like maybe she just like didn't remember the details of something accurately, you know? Like when you're being abused by someone, that'll really fuck with your memory pretty bad. So I think people really nitpicked her statements in a way that was very unfair, and there were a lot of people who potentially had a vested interest in presenting her story as unreliable. So it's not surprising that you would have heard that, because she really got ganged up on really bad. It's likely that there was a lot of money involved. Yeah, it's literally one of those things that like as soon as you start looking into the evidence, you just find out more and more evidence of like where Amber was really being abused. So she cited a year where she used a makeup kit that hadn't come out then to cover her bruises. Like, come on. That's such a stupid thing to nitpick. Shy asked, who's your favorite person in chat? Now, y'all already know it's Jess. Yeah, it's like a very silly thing to nitpick. This smear campaign, Justin Baldoni and his team, yeah, with Blake Lively, yes. That one I'm so like not plugged into at all. But again, that's another one of those things. It's like I wouldn't even know anything about it if not for Medusany. Oh! I didn't even clock that was 30 seconds of favoritism. I'm so sorry. You know what? I'll fix it right now. Hang on, everyone. Hang on. I actually, I kind of want to amend my answer there. 1 second. Because I said it was Jess, but actually, my favorite person in chat is Shy. You know, Jess is like, Jess has to support me. Shy doesn't have to be here, but Shy has been here the whole time. Like, Shy the OG, you know, she sent us sweet messages during the move to check in on us. And so, you know, somebody asked as well in the AMA what my favorite part of streaming was. Actually, it's getting to be here with Shy. There you go. I hope you enjoyed your 30 seconds of favoritism. Lizzie says, if you ever seen She's a Solar Being on Instagram or YouTube, the copyright is very messy. Yes. I bought those star hair puppies for $120 back in August and have not gotten your package. What? I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, I know. What is it? Who's the other one? It's like Solar and another person are having a whole, like, huge dispute right now. Still love her, but copyright is such an, is so ugly. Yeah. The lady doing the copyright on her is nothing like hers. Yeah, that is a whole mess. That really sucks for them. I've been hearing about that one. That's definitely another really messy case. If y'all are not familiar with that one, it's about even more than just the hair accessories themselves. It gets into like literally just styling your hair in different shapes, right? Like two creators with, you know, coily hair, a coily hair type. I don't know if it's 4C or not. I've seen some weird discourse about whether or not so and so has 4C hair. I don't know. I'm white. I don't know the ins and outs of hair types like that. But you know, these two creators both style their coily hair very intricately, and so I forget which one is which, but one of them like did some copyright claims on the other one, acting like styling your hair is infringing or something, and like, anyway, that's a whole mess. That sucks though that you didn't get your package. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, because Solar is the one that's selling the hair things, the other person, I think, is the one who filed the copyright. They're not selling anything. I think that's what it is. I believe the reason that Solar was not able to send out the packages, though, was because of the copyright thing, because of getting sued. I could be misremembering that, but I think that that's what it is. Oh, you don't even know anything about the Justin Baldoni thing? All I know is it happened during a Colleen Hoover movie filming. Yeah, that's a big part of the reason why I was like, I'm not really... And it's also just a little bit hard to, like... I'm not saying that, like, Blake Lively should not, like, be treated appropriately. I just am having a hard time taking her seriously as a person right now because of... I don't know, some of the other... She's just, like, a little ridiculous. But, nothing to do with the abuse allegations, though. Just with her styling and stuff and, like, her general behavior. The TLDR is that Justin, his director, was the director and leading man, and he sexually harassed Blake, and she decided to press charges. So Justin and his PR team started smearing her prior to the case to bias people against her preemptively, much like Johnny Depp and his team did. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the pirate's life, yep, that's where it comes in handy, for sure. Yes, Blake and Ryan got married at a plantation and pretended she didn't know what it was, for sure. So, Blake Lively's certainly not my favorite person. But definitely men should not be abusing women, so you know, we can hope she wins that without feeling passionately about her at the same time. You know, two things can exist at the same time. I mean, I think a lot of people. I feel like Ryan Reynolds really gets his entire image smoothed out a lot. Like, I feel like Ryan Reynolds is certainly not above criticism. He's certainly done things that are worthy of criticism, but I feel like he's one of those people that, like, people just, like, baby girlify him really hard. And so, like, I didn't know about the plantation thing either until the whole Justin Baldoni thing came up. Like, that's crazy. It's, if you are, like, from the South, I will say it's a bit more normal to do that. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying it's something that I would do. But just, like, if you are raised in that culture to a point where it's, like, so normalized that you, like, don't think about why it's a problem, just because it's, like, that's just, like, what a lot of the venues are, you know? Because obviously, when everything was plantations, there's a lot of old plantations to get married at, right? Again, that doesn't make it right, but I do think that it is, like, weird to, like, want to seek that out. I don't know. Yeah, it's almost, there are so many. That's the thing about getting married in the South. It's not just like, wow, out of all of the venues you could have picked, you picked a plantation. It's literally like you have your, like, pick of plantations. Like, you have many options for old plantations, you know, which is so gross. And again, I wouldn't want to do it, but I think it's one of those things that maybe a lot of people aren't, like, aware of how much that shit is still around them. But if you're not from there, I think that makes it, like, extremely weird to even, like, go there. I don't know. I don't know if they're from there. I don't know where they're from. You've seen yet another black artist is doing a hair pick, but you put water or oil in it in fun shapes, and you want them to copyright it or have the same fate Solar had with legal issues. It's not fair. Yeah. Oh, you warned them to copyright it. Yeah. I feel like I've seen a lot of black artists. Like, there's another person who's done magnetic claw clips for like really thick hair, like for people who have dreads especially, for different kinds of black hair. Like, that's why they started making them, so they can hold more hair at once. I'm sure you probably know what I'm talking about if you're getting this much content about different black artists who are doing things with hair. Like, that's probably one of the most obvious ones. But I know that person did go ahead and, like, protect themselves legally and, like, get the trademark and stuff, because I feel like black creators in particular, I mean, black and indigenous, like, it's so much more likely that someone is going to try and swoop in and steal that copyright out from under them. Like, these fucking racist assholes out here love to see a black woman fail, right? So, for sure, it's just, unfortunately, it's wisdom for them to go ahead and protect themselves in that way, because yeah, it happens all too quickly. But I think it is also, like, really hard and disheartening to see that happening, like, between two different black creators. You know, I'm sure that makes it feel even more scummy, because it's like, you'd think, you know, the community would want to uplift each other. But I mean, nobody's pure, right? Wish famous people could handle themselves well. Well, you know, if we would stop babying them and enabling them so much, that would probably help. Like, I think that famous people, it's not even that famous people like think that they can get away with stuff so much. It's that we let them get away with stuff so much, right? Like, we've got to stop tolerating it, you know? You've got to stop idolizing them and acknowledge that they're people. Yeah, exactly. The baby girlification of grown men, to an even greater degree, the baby girlification of celebrity grown men, you know? Y'all don't ever let me get away with that, please. Like, never. You don't ever need to overlook any stupid problematic shit that I do. Please just call me out, because I'd rather know so I can fix it, right? Like, I don't ever want any of y'all to, like, I appreciate the love and respect that I get from y'all as a community. It's so special and it's such an honor. But, like, if I say or do something stupid, please let me know immediately, because I want to fix that shit. Like, I don't want to sit on it. Let me do better. Please help me do better. That, like, it's so... Just the idea of even being on the receiving end of that kind of treatment where people are just gonna, like, coddle you and enable you. I'm like, how do you not find that embarrassing? Like, I would be fucking embarrassed to realize that nobody... Like, everyone was just letting me run wild and act like an asshole instead of, like, helping me to do better. Like, coming out the other side of that. I think a lot of child actors go through that because as children they get treated very differently, and then they have to grow up and they have to confront their reality in a different way, and that results in so many of them, like, going through an absolute crisis, right? And I think that that's part of it, is that they just have to realize, like, oh, I'm not, like, special. I'm, like, still a person. I still have to work on my shit. And I think that's why we see so many child actors kind of come out of that whole situation wanting to do more, like, advocacy work. But I can't imagine how embarrassing and, like, awful that must feel to get coddled your whole life like that and not ever have anybody willing to do you the favor of calling you out on your shit. Because, like, there are people who live in enough of a vacuum that they don't realize when they're doing something that's fucked up. And I feel like it's a little bit harder to make that argument in this day and age because we have the internet, and it is so much harder to, like, be in it, like, in such an insulated environment where you don't see that kind of stuff. But, like, we all know how the algorithm works. Like, not everybody is seeing the same information, you know? So to an extent that this still happens. So it's like, I don't know. I think caring about somebody means also calling them out when they do something stupid that needs to be corrected. Hate how much into pop culture you used to be because you were so obsessed with Ryan Reynolds and other problematic celebrities that are just funny because, while they can do no wrong, I mean, it's cultural, you know? It's not like it's just you that does that. Like, you were kind of taught to do that, right? By the culture. And I was watching, speaking of Badusini, I was catching up on, she does live streams periodically. She'll do Pop Girly News. And so in one of her most recent live streams, she was talking about Michael Jackson, because with the Michael Jackson biopic that happened, there's been a lot of, like, people trying to act like he never molested anyone, which he very obviously did. And so I've been very confused seeing a lot of that online. I was like, oh, this is strange. Did the biopic get into some, like, weird evidence that we didn't know about or something that's making all of these people all of a sudden go, like, we're gonna backtrack and start idolizing him again now as a person? No. Like, it's just star power, right? People are like, well, we really like him as an artist, so we're gonna choose to refuse to believe that any of that could also be true, you know? So, like, it's cultural. It's not, especially you, like, Alex, you're, you know, no offense, but you're a little baby. Like, you still have a lot of time to learn these things. You don't have to feel bad about them because, you know, you can't know what you don't know. And people people have a responsibility. Like, you have a responsibility to teach yourself, but also you're literally in school. Like, other people have a responsibility to teach you right now. That's what school is for. So, this is telling me that I really need to check my sources. Yeah. And even, like, shit that I say, like, I'm just another random person on the internet. Like, I'm not looking at, like, a bibliography right now for a lot of this, you know? I mean, I'm not saying that I think that I'm wrong about anything that I'm saying right now, but, like, you know, if I'm not, I don't have, like, a list of time and dates pulled up, right? Like, I'm not citing my sources at the moment. But in terms of, like, hard facts of, like, here's a quote from this time that Michael Jackson said he molested this guy. Like, I'm not doing that, right? Macaulay Culkin spent time with MJ and said nothing like that happened. Yeah, but, like, the Michael Jackson didn't molest me either. Does that mean he didn't molest anybody? Right? Like, one person saying that nothing happened does not mean that nothing happened to anyone. And I think that that's how a lot of people interpret that. And also, I mean, that's not to say it never would have, you know? Like, if you look at the pattern of behavior, this is something that Medusny was talking about. If you look at, like, his pattern of behavior, it didn't tend to be a thing of, like, the second he was alone with somebody, he would do something sketchy. It was, like, a long-term relationship kind of thing that he would do with people. So, people did suspect him as a victim and he denied it. Yeah, absolutely, because it would have made sense because the relationship that he was in with Michael was like a grooming relationship, right? Like, he was being set up to view things as normal that would have left him very vulnerable for abuse to occur if it was going to. So I think that that's why a lot of people are, like, suspecting him as a victim, because he was in a very vulnerable situation. It just so happened that nothing happened to him. And I think Medusny was also pointing out that it seemed like he tended to do more stuff with people who came from like a more vulnerable background. Like, Macaulay Culkin has a certain level of power because he's, like, rich and has celebrity, right? So a lot of the families that Michael had, you know, these dealings with were people who he was also, like, paying off and supporting financially, and that was, like, an element of it. So, but I do, yeah, I what you're pointing out is that a lot of people sort of look at the fact that, like, Macaulay wasn't abused as, like, evidence that no one was abused, and it just doesn't make sense to say that. Yeah, less famous means less consequences, for sure. So, yeah, abusers will always abuse every potential victim at every opportunity, for sure. Especially someone who had very romantic ideas about what he was doing, like, in terms of, like, I'm sorry, I did not mean to be getting into, like, a super serious topic like this right now. It's just, literally, I was watching it last night, so it was, like, top of mind. But, you know, different people think about that kind of stuff in different ways. And, like, I think that his patterns were reflective of the way that he thought about those relationships. So, you thought Neverland was to protect kids or something. That is something that was asserted, but when you look into it, there's a lot of really sketchy stuff that, yeah. It's like, he essentially built a children's theme park at his house and then gave himself a bunch of opportunity to, like, befriend children and be alone with him to the extent that, like, he would have kids for a sleepover and they would sleep in his bed. Like, your mom sides with the men in these cases every time. It's weird. I mean, I think a lot of people do that. He painted his actions as purely well-intentioned. Yeah. If you, there's some interviews with him. Medusini was playing clips from a couple of them, where people directly asked him, like, you don't think that it's weird for you to like sleep in the bed with like a child that's not yours? And he was like, no, I think everybody should do it. Oh. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of stuff that he has like explicitly owned up to because he didn't see it as there was being anything wrong with it that is like questionable even if you take out everything else. Yeah, exactly. At the very least, that's a questionable choice. Anyway, we could talk about something about Michael Jackson. We got about 30 minutes left. If y'all have anything else that y'all would like to cover today. Any questions? I can talk about the road trip. I can talk about my plan for streams for the month if you would like. Whatever y'all think. Four hours later, I'm still eating this knish. Him trying to say the interviewer was being weird for seeing it as inappropriate? Yeah. It's like, no, buddy. I guess my history teacher was right. Is there anything specific you want to see in the cursed fic? I want you to let your freak flag fly. I want you to not hold back. Don't pull any punches. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I already have such a complete idea of like what your plan for it is. I don't know that I can really visualize anything new. I mean, there's already so much. For the Hear Me Out stream, have you peeked at the submissions or are we all going in blind? I have peeked at the submissions and I have to look at them beforehand because I want to have visuals for you guys. So I'm gonna have to, and there's that website, Tier Ranker. So I'm gonna have to plug everything into Tier Ranker ahead of time. So like it's necessary for me to look at it first, unfortunately. So sorry to rob you of that. You were so trained to side with the men and all of these things. You need to actually start thinking about that. I mean, yeah, it's a good thing to think about for sure. Like, yeah, source and bias is very important. And also, every source is going to have some level of bias. Like, don't ever feel like you need to 100% agree or align with any one person. You are at a good age to learn this, I agree. You can disagree with me, you know? Like, that's fine. It's fine for us to have differences of opinion. And it's also fine if I'm misinformed about something and you're able to bring new facts to the table. You should be able to do that with anyone, whether it's through confirming or denying something that they're saying or adding more nuance to it. I think a lot of people maybe overlook that as well. Like when you're having a conversation about something, people love to say there's two sides to every story. I disagree with that sentiment. I think it's a stupid thing to say, personally, because the implication of there's two sides to every story is that this person sees things one way and this person sees things another way, and then both of them are in some ways right and in some ways wrong. No, here's the thing. There is one reality. There is one set of events that happened, and then there's multiple perspectives on that series of events. So that can mean, like, if I punch you in the face, there's not two sides to whether or not I punched you in the face. That empirically happened. You know? Like, that is reality. We must grapple with reality. My fist connected with your face, right? The sides, Or as I would frame it, the perspectives to that situation would be, why did I punch you in the face? Do I feel like you deserved it? Do you feel like you deserved it? What did you do leading up to the punch? Like, none of those things change whether or not that connection happened. It just may change your feelings about whether or not that connection was deserved, right? So I think so many times people will look at the nuances of a situation and they either think that introducing nuance will change the reality of the situation, or they will reject nuance because they're so attached to the sort of like the core of the situation, right? And so I think leaving room for that nuance is always a good idea, and like you can evaluate that nuance and acknowledge that nuance without it necessarily changing the outcome of the way that you feel, because people may be like, well, Alex was mouthing off and like was kind of asking to be punched, but that still doesn't give Jack the right to punch Alex, right? Like we can arrive at that conclusion, and after having observed all aspects of the conversation, right? Yeah, there's always bias, but just because somebody has a bias, that also doesn't mean that like they're incorrect. I think a lot of people try to spin it that way, where they're like, well, you're pro this, like you're feminist, so you know, no matter what you say, you're always going to be like slanting towards women. And it's like, if all of the evidence about a situation is pointing to the fact that this thing happened, at some point the bias stops mattering. Like if I'm just giving you the evidence, like there, you know, and then there are the people who will be like, I'm only going to give you some of that, you know, because I have this bias. And sometimes giving more of the evidence does make a difference. In the example of me punching you in the face, maybe you were standing behind me and I didn't know you were there, and you should have announced your presence, you know, like that would change the reality of the situation, wouldn't it? So yeah, everyone is complex, biased, individual. It's important to understand one another even in conflict. Exactly. Like, you can think that somebody was in the right. That doesn't mean that you have to like or agree with it. I think that's something a lot of people struggle with too, is that a lot of people they have a really hard time with this idea of like, it's almost kind of like the separate the art from the artist thing, but the whole significance of separating the art from the artist, as we understand it today, is that okay, let me back up for a second because I'm like getting ahead of myself here. So separate the art from the artist is a term, is a tool of analysis, right? So the reason that people say that initially is because when you are analyzing something like a work of art or a piece of writing, it is often necessary for you to take the artist, the person who made it, out of the equation so that you can more adequately examine the work in and of itself. So some people are of the mind that you should always examine a work in the context of the person who made it. But there is also a school of thought, or even just an exercise of analysis that involves taking the artist out of the equation so that you can more adequately just examine the work itself as it stands alone. Because for a lot of people, they're not going to have that knowledge of the artist and their history and all of that information. So it's important when you're looking at like how effective a work is to consider it from multiple different angles in that way. So when people talk about separating the art from the artist a lot of the time, now they are talking about that in terms of capitalism. So when people are like, well, I'm going to separate the art from the artist so that I can continue buying merch from this transphobic person and not feel bad about it because it's just about the story for me. But in that case, what you're doing is you're continuing to fund this transphobic person's transphobic enterprise while you are patting yourself on the back and trying to make yourself feel better about making questionable decisions under capitalism. So it's like when you take that idea out of an analytical framework, it changes what that idea means, right? And so I forgot why I started talking about this shit. Everyone is complex, biased individual. It's important to understand one another even in conflict. Yes. Yes. So I think a lot of people sort of struggle with this idea of like, there's levels to it, right? So I could, on an intellectual level, continue to engage with the ideas that this transphobic person, I'm not naming the name on, we all know who I'm talking about, right? I'm not going to say it. Don't type it in my chat. Keep that shit out of my chat, please. But I think we all know who I'm talking about. If you don't, send me a DM, because I don't want to put it in my chat. But if I want to continue to engage with this person's work on an intellectual level, I can do that in a way that remains personal and is just that can actually remain pure, right? When I start to engage on it on these other levels, that changes my relationship to those ideas. So, but people don't want to appreciate that nuance, so sometimes it's almost like the opposite of it, where it's like you have this guy that like Edison. Okay, Edison was a really problematic person, right? Thomas Edison. Obviously, Thomas Edison contributed to us having like a great number of things, which, okay, I'm gonna flatten this issue a little bit because we also are pretty sure that Thomas Edison like stole a bunch of stuff from people in terms, going back to the copyright and the trademark thing, trademarking and whatever other people's work, right? But if we flatten that issue to just say Edison invented all of this stuff, right? We can still appreciate light bulbs without saying that we agree with Thomas Edison. And I think that a lot of people seem to have this idea of like, no, Thomas Edison was bad, so you cannot use the light bulb anymore. Like, I think that kind of goes back to sometimes people are right about things. That doesn't mean you have to agree with them as a person, you know? The guy that made video cameras went missing and suddenly Edison made it. Yeah, Edison's maybe not a good example because fuck Edison, but he was just the best thing that I could think of at the moment. So, have you ever started singing since your transition? That is something that I have slowly been working on. So there was definitely a period of time where like I like couldn't do it at all. And again, I did not do any voice training. I know trans people who have talked about specifically doing voice training while their voice was changing and not having any issues. I'm lazy and I didn't want to do that, so I did not do any voice training. So there was a period of time, a period of a couple months where I basically couldn't sing at all, and I feel like I'm starting to regain it again, but I'm basically just having to like relearn how to do it with my new voice is what it feels like. I just feel like I'm kind of starting over, but it's definitely still possible for me. H.P. Lovecraft, yeah, but again, that's a really good example of somebody who's dead, so we don't have to hear what he thought. Yeah. What languages do you know or are willing to learn? So when I was very young, I took a little bit of Spanish. That did not really stick. I did take a couple of semesters of German when I was in college. I've also forgotten most of that. So I think that learning languages is an incredibly cool and incredibly difficult skill, and I am not super good at it. But I would love it if I was. I think that probably the number one thing that I would like to learn is just American Sign Language, because I think that more people should know how to do that. I also think Japanese is really cool. I would love to get back into German, and Spanish obviously is so practical. I think that people who can speak a bunch of different languages is like, that's so impressive. Um, I think that in America, we really have a habit of undervaluing that skill. But it really is, it's so impressive. Like the number of people who just casually, regularly speak multiple languages, that I think that takes a lot of intelligence. That's really impressive to me. So I would love it if I was that person who was like good at language, but it really does not stick very well for me. There's an ASL app run by deaf people, and you're also learning German. I think I know what app that you're talking about, and I have considered downloading that one. It's just a matter of like, I only have so many hours in the day, right? I'm already barely hanging on to all the shit that I need to do, but that's definitely one that I would like put in my back pocket for later. I would love to try that out. German was a lot of fun though. I enjoyed learning German. What is the app for the people on Twitch? Yeah, do you remember off the top of your head the name of the app, Goose? If you link it in the YouTube chat, I'll put it over in Twitch. Because yeah, it's a cool one. And that also brings up a really important point too, because I watch some ASL educators on TikTok that'll talk about it. The differences between the quality of education for hearing people when they are learning ASL from other hearing people versus when they're learning from somebody who's actually deaf and like immersed in the language. Is that Lingvano? It does something. Oh, weird. Wait. It's like translating when I hover over it. That's interesting. Okay, I was wondering why you said 2 earlier, and I think if you were saying hi, but it just shows up really weirdly in the YouTube chat until I hover over it with my mouse. So Lingvano, it looks like? You watch ASL Meredith? Is that on YouTube? Thank you, Goose. Yeah, I was not expecting that. I guess that's why it has that symbol next to it, because it's indicating that it translated for me. Interesting. I've never seen that before. Lizzie, I've never heard a trans person yodel. Could you yodel, please? I couldn't do that before I started transitioning, let alone now. That's a very unique skill to have. I definitely cannot do that. It's in the Google Play Store. Excellent. I'm assuming ASL Meredith is on YouTube, though. Yeah. Posey says yeah. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about my expectations for upcoming streams really quick, so we're winding down here. So we were just kind of getting back into the swing of things for today. This is my first stream back after moving, so I'm in a new location now. I spent the month packing up my apartment and going from Washington State to New York State, so literally moved across the country this past month. So, but this was great to get back into the swing of things. It is my intention to do is it co-stream or like dual stream or whatever, Twitch and YouTube from now on. I'm open to potentially adding more in there because I know that you can. There's different programs that you can download that'll help you do that. But for now, we're just going to do Twitch and YouTube while I'm getting used to this. But tomorrow is going to be a crochet stream, so I probably won't have face cam set up for that one. It'll just be my hands as usual because I don't have another camera yet. But so tomorrow I'll be working on the community project, try to get us back on track for that. And then on Saturday, I'm going to be playing Stardew Valley. I'll be working on my perfection run because normally I play Stardew on Sundays, But this week, I'm planning to play through all of Undertale on Sunday. So I'll be starting a little bit earlier, 12 p.m. Eastern instead of 3 p.m. And we're going to try to get through the whole game on Sunday. If I end up having to break it up, that's fine. But it shouldn't be more than 2 sessions regardless. But I think I can do the whole thing in one go. And then probably next week, let's see, I kind of want to start going in order of some of the redeems. Let me go over to my Google Drive here. Here's my thing. Where did I put that? Can you share something wholesome and transy? Of course you can. Yes. Okay. One of our friends is getting, so they got top surgery not too long ago. So they are getting, I believe that they're getting like, realistic, like, replacement, you know, for what got taken off. They told the artist that they sent the link to you, and the artist said, please take these to give to them. Wait, what? That is so cute. They've donated a set of temporary nip tattoos. That is so cute. That is so sweet of them to do that. Yeah, I think when the time comes for me, I think that I definitely, here we go. Here's some trans stuff. So I would like to talk to my doctor about getting on the list for top surgery this year. My original goal when I started testosterone, I was like, I think I want to be on T for 2 years before I do my top surgery. So I figure if by the time I get my doctor's appointment, whenever that is, I'm anticipating it's probably gonna be like 3 months from now to get with my new GP, or whenever I make the first appointment and get insurance and all of that. But I'm anticipating it'll take a little while to get the appointment in the first place, and then it'll probably take a little bit of time for me to be on the waiting list. So probably by the time the appointment is actually coming up, I'll be around the 2-year mark is how I'm anticipating it'll shake out. So, but I would like to not keep my nipples. So if you're not aware of how that works, it's you know, it's common to keep them, but it's also common not to, because there can be complications when that tissue is removed. They usually have to sever the connection that the nipples have and like reattach them regardless of what you're doing. So there is a risk, if you don't take care of them properly, that they can necrotize and fall off, and that is already like a fear of mine. Anyway, I already like don't like having them, so for me, I'm like, this is an excellent opportunity to just not have that problem anymore. So I'm not planning on keeping mine, but because, you know, one of our friends is getting medical tattoos as a replacement, I'm considering like, oh, maybe I'll do that too. So it's very sweet of them to send along the temporary tattoos, like a thing that I can do to try it out and see how I feel about it. But yes, putting them on my forehead is certainly, that's also an idea. Smokers and vapors have higher risk of it dropping off post-surgery. That makes sense. Yeah, don't want them anyway, bend those things. I know. Y'all know, okay, this is like triggering. Y'all know that episode of The Office? Have y'all watched The Office? Where they're like running a marathon, and Andy... Is that no as in don't talk about it, or no as in you haven't watched The Office? So, one of the characters, you don't really know anything about it other than there's an episode where the people that work in the office run a marathon, and one of the people experiences chafing from his shirt, his running shirt, so badly that he is bleeding from his nipples by the end of the marathon. That is like literally my worst nightmare. That's something that lives in my head rent free. So I am like, please get those things off of me. Yeah, that was so awful. So awful. But I will also say that leads me into one of the greatest burns I've ever delivered to someone else, which was back when I was working at Whole Foods. I was up in the break room for lunch, and I was up there, and it was like a bunch of women having their lunch break, and then these like two dudes talking like very loudly and obnoxiously, and one of them was just like going on and on about himself and like how athletic he was and how great he was, and then but because he was talking about like how he was running and stuff, and I think something came up about like chafing perhaps, and he was just like, you know, talking about like how there wasn't a solution or something. And I could tell everyone in the room was so fed up with him at this point because he was just being so obnoxious about it. So as I was walking out of the room, I was like, just wear a sports bra. And that shut him up. So that was nice. Andy gave Toby a laxative. Oh my god, I don't remember that. Yeah, you've had that to a small degree. It happens to me way too easily, and I don't enjoy it. Happy Pride Month to you guys. Thank you, Goose. And thank you, Rinstarian, for linking to the app. Appreciate it. In the Discord. If anybody's not in the Discord, by the way, I know on YouTube it's I don't have the same built-in chat commands with Nightbot and stuff, but if anybody over on YouTube does not have the Discord link and would like to get into the Discord, please let me know and I will share that with y'all. What was I looking for? Oh yeah, the other redemptions for oh, did I put them in sheets? Is that what it was? I think it's in my sheets. Yeah, there it is. I found it. Yay! Okay, so I think for the most part I want to try and go in order. So next week, I will probably want to do making clothes for Carmilla. So I should work on that. I'll have to organize all of us playing Peak together, and then probably the Cleliot fic reading could happen this month. And I could also work on designing a pattern on stream. That would be an easy thing for me to do. The macro crochet stream I would like to do soon, but I will have to make sure I can get my resources together for that one. I kind of want whatever I make to end up being a rug for my office. So. Happy Pride to your hand. Wow, that really sounds like something else when you say it like that. You were talking with your friend about anime you should watch, you started writing them down in your hand. Oh, I see. I just spent the whole day with Yuri on Ice, giant on your hand. Wow. You've bounced around about 3 different creative projects before coming back. Welcome back, Pumpkin Cat. Isn't that a long fic? Yeah, I'm definitely not gonna be able to read the whole thing in one go. So I don't know what we're gonna do about that yet, but I can at least get started. But let me get the link to the Discord here for you, Goose. What's the easiest way for me to do this? There we go. I got the link. I'm coming back to you. Alright. There's the invite link for you. So if you post an intro, you will get accepted into the Discord faster. We just have a little bit of a screening process that we do just to make it harder for bots to like come in and start spamming stuff. You don't have to post an intro if you don't want to. I will approve you anyway once it's been long enough. But if you do an intro, you'll go faster because the other mods will get you. But with that in mind, I am probably going to sign off for today. We're coming up on that 4-hour mark, so that's probably about time for me to go. But yeah, like I said, I will work on building the calendar for probably the rest of the month so that y'all can know when to anticipate things. But yeah, the next subathon reward will be Undertale on Sunday. And before that, obviously we'll have 2 more streams. So I will see y'all tomorrow for some crochet time. Y'all better bring your projects so we can work on stuff together. If you are on Twitch, I'm gonna pull up the raid browser here. So stick around, we'll raid somebody. Let's see who's online. Okay, Pick Stitch is live. Go over there. Yeah, thanks for hanging out with me, everyone. We'll go raid Pix. So if you are on Twitch and you would like to participate in that raid, you can pick your favorite, most evilest emotes, whatever is available to you, and just type evil raid in there along with it. And I will see y'all tomorrow, same time. Have a great rest of your day.
Ever. We just got a double raid. Leia, what were you doing today? I don't know what you were doing in MNC, but if you have anything you want to share, feel free to pop a link in the chat, social shops, commish,